Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 15, 2021 Town of Norfolk Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. I'll just read this disclosure, so to speak, to open it up. In accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, notice is hereby given that the Zoning Board of Appeals will meet on Wednesday, December 15th, 2021 at 7 p.m. in Meeting Room 124, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass. Additional public access to this meeting shall be done via Zoom online video conferencing. This application will allow users to view the meeting and provide comments during allocated windows. To join, follow the web link or call the dial-in number. Please be advised that this meeting will be audio and video recorded for future broadcasts or for future rebroadcasts by Norfolk Community Television. Okay, good evening, everyone. So our first item on the agenda, just after 7 o'clock, is a continuation for 228 Dedham Street, an application for 2 special permits. I see the applicant's engineer is here tonight. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. Rick Goodrow with United Consultants. Here this evening are Mr. Lee Gentile and Mr. Sean Weber, principals for the project at 228 Dedham Street. Elaine, if we could get the site plan up. You're going to do it faster than I could, so thank you in advance. So the site is located at 228 Dedham Street. Access to the site is via an existing driveway off of Dedham Street, being Route 1A, just southeast of the intersection of Dedham Street and Pond Street for a point of reference.
Sorry.
No problem. So,
That's pretty good.
yeah, that's good.
That's good.
Could we actually go to sheet 2, please? There we go. Whoop. Just a little bit. There we go. So, this is the existing conditions of the site. Site currently has a driveway access to a parking area here, driveway access to an area to access the building with commercial vehicles. In this area here is an existing house located here, and a majority of the rear portion of the site is a gravel area used for the construction business. This site was originally developed around 1985, and a special permit for the development of the site and a quasi site plan approval, I'm not too sure on exactly how things worked back in 1985, was granted by this Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Norfolk to allow the development to happen. We have had the opportunity to look at those documents. It's just a little different process than we have nowadays. So that's just a little history of the site. Currently, there's an existing 2-story building. The rear portion of the building is overhead doors with access for, as I said, commercial vehicles to utilize that. The front portion is a 2-story office-type space. There are some office rental tenants that utilize that portion of the building, as well as the applicant's business interests utilizing the second floor of the office space of the existing building. Elaine, if we could go to sheet 3, please.
Sorry.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, so a little bit about the proposed development of the site. The applicant is looking for an addition to be constructed to the rear or west of the existing building. Further to the west would be a 90 by 100 foot aggregate storage building. The applicant has a business that is basically a concrete batch business where the materials are going to be stored inside the building, out of the weather, in a controlled climate. They'll then be loaded onto the trucks. The trucks will leave the site, go to their end destination. A material list of certain yardage and type of concrete would be provided. That would be mixed on-site and discharged, and then ultimately the truck would return to the site once the job is completed. So that's a little history of the aggregate building here of what we're proposing to do. Additionally, there are three storage structures located to the west rear of the site. They're smaller, and they're basically just for storage of excess aggregate material, sand, things of that nature, stone, things of that nature. So we also have designated a material and equipment, construction equipment storage area here, as well as one here. The applicant has, in the original proposal for this development site 35 years ago, was for a construction business, an excavating construction business. So they do have construction equipment, excavators, dump trucks, backhoes, dozers, loaders, things of that nature. They do utilize loaders for the moving of material within the site from these areas here. Additionally, we'll have trucks coming in to make deliveries at these locations here. That'll be pushed into the building and dropped in so that it can be loaded into the trucks from inside the building after the deliveries are made. So the site has parking area here that's utilized for the office space. We have some additional parking here, parking being added here and here. The blue hatched area is proposed to be an expansion of the asphalt parking areas. So there's parking waiver request that's been asked of the, or special permit request for parking that's been asked of the planning board for basically a reduction in 4 parking spaces from what's required. And that's really because the aggregate building would generate, I believe, 14 parking spaces by the zoning requirements, and they really don't need it. It's a building that's gonna store aggregate and have, vehicles entering it to access for purposes of being loaded. So what the applicant has requested is 2 special permits that are in essence the same, but because the property has an on-highway and off-highway area designated by this line here, everything to the east of this line and to the north of this line is in the on-highway district. Everything to the south and the west of this line is in the off-highway district. So the zoning district requirements are such that only 1 commercial vehicle is allowed to be stored outside in the on-highway area, and 3 commercial vehicles are allowed to be stored outside in the off-highway area. So the applicant has requested 2 special permits to allow a total of 25 commercial vehicles to be stored outside. And that would consist of the construction equipment, as we mentioned, trucks for the operations, a concrete truck could be stored outside. I would say that a 2,500 or larger pickup truck would definitely be considered a commercial vehicle. An argument could be made that a pickup truck that's a company-owned vehicle that's smaller than that but has commercial plates could be considered a commercial vehicle. So we just want to make sure that, any future tenants of the site, such as, say, a landscaping contractor that would have some equipment, lawn mowers, could have a trailer, anything such as that would be covered. So we're not looking to have 25 excavators and dump trucks stored on the site, but we're looking for some flexibility due to, the definition of what's a commercial vehicle to be stored on the site. We have proposed a stormwater system, basically located in this area here. There's a catchment system for the proposed development that directs the stormwater via catch basins and piping to that system. There's a second underground infiltration system that would receive the stormwater runoff from the addition roof, as well as the proposed aggregate storage building roof. And those things have really been vetted out through the peer review. I'm not sure if the zoning board has received the comments from Beta with respect to that, but they had been reviewed by the planning board. So we're in that process as well. So that's an overview of the application and what the special permit requests of the applicant are. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Rick, on this plan here, how many, you're looking for a special permit to allow the 25 vehicles stored outside. Does this plan have the 25 spaces on it? Are they identified?
We haven't specifically identified the spaces because, again,
It's an open yard?
it's an open yard, so we have designated where the construction equipment would be, those 2 areas. But as I said, if a you know, if a landscaper rented this site and I came to, you know, do business with them to have my, you know, landscaper, you know, to hire a landscaper to come and maintain my property, and I have a pickup truck, you know, I'm gonna park in one of the spaces.
Yep.
You know, if they decide, you know, they're gonna park a trailer there that they utilize to, you know, move the lawnmower, that could be parked in a space
I'm just
as
trying to
well.
get a sense, just from a high level, of the density of the parking, if there were 25 commercial vehicles stored out there.
Mm-hmm.
How much, can you give me a sense of how much area that may take up?
Well, I can tell you, that's 20 parking spaces
okay.
right there.
Very good.
Just for a point of reference. And I will say, you know, again, this is 1A, 115's here, there's houses and vegetation here, we're providing some screening here from the abutting property. So these spaces, the 10 and the 20 would really be where, and these two areas where we would be looking to have those commercial
Yeah,
vehicles.
okay. And then, could you do us a favor and walk us around the perimeter of the site, and just for the board, just so that we understand who the neighbors are real quick?
Sure. So to the south is Hugo DiMartino's building, which has been constructed for some time and remained vacant. It's developed. Building is located up in this area here with parking in the back, and then there's some additional property out here. Coming in this direction here, you have basically some retail-type businesses located out along 1A. Some restaurants are located further to the north. This property here is a single-family residence that's owned by Mr. Hamlin. The Hamlin Cabinet Shop building is located right here with the frontage on Pond Street, for a point of reference. This is the Johnston property. Mr. Johnston's residence is located out front on the Pond Street, if you will, and then the rear of his property is utilized for his construction business. He has a garage in this area here and actually shares a little bit of the real estate with Mr. Gentile, who's been kind enough to allow him to infringe onto his property, Mr. Gentile's property, to store, you know, small things, a truck or you know, a backhoe or a pickup truck or something of that nature. The Phillips property is a residential property. The house is located, again, out close to Pond Street. Majority of this area is wooded, and there is an existing 6-foot stockade fence located along the property line. And then this is a vehicle repair business? Is that what they
Yeah.
do, Rich? I know
Yeah, it's a
vehicle-
body shop, I
Wait,
think.
go
Body
back,
shop?
the residential house, that's in a commercial zone?
That's correct. All of the properties are commercial. That's actually in a C1 zone. And then, Elaine, if you could pan this way, there's two properties located basically to the west of the site, or the rear of the site, and they're the area for the radio tower, which is the circle that you see here. And then you have the Board of Water Commissioners, which is the town's water tower located up on top of the hill off of Sharon Ave.
Okay. On
So-
the, I'm sorry, go right ahead.
I was gonna say, so that's basically the abutting properties. As you had mentioned, the entirety of this area is in a commercial one zoning district. Everything off of Pond Street is in the on-highway area. And then everything, I believe it's 300 feet off of Route 1A is also in the on-highway area. So we have the split zone of the lot, if you will.
And it looks like the beta review primarily involves site plan review issues that's going through planning board. So they'll handle that, but it looked like, just as a cursory look at a review of it, really most of the issues have, looked like they've been resolved and, or close to being resolved.
Yeah, there's a few, you know, cleanup items, a width of a sidewalk to be added, a depth of the monitoring well to be added, some documents for the applicant to sign in the final form, some things of that nature. So I think we're in pretty good shape. You know, a couple stormwater issues to address.
Okay.
But I think we're on the right path, and I think, you know, Rich could certainly
Sure.
speak to that. He was present at the planning board hearing last evening.
Yeah, that is accurate in terms of what's left. There's some clarification, which we already know, but they'll have to make an update to the plan in terms of the pavement surface, which I know is paved, but it was just a existing condition label. It said gravel was on there, so it was a little confusing, so that's to be addressed. There was clarification of sign, as they know, they're gonna relocate it to meet the side setback of 25 feet. That plan will be updated to address that. Primarily, most of the stuff is really, the balance of it was real stormwater related, for the most part, you know, that's where, how. it
Out of our purview on that,
Yeah, outside, you heard purview.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I think the anticipation would be that between, well, last night and the meeting in January, that everything would be wrapped up, ready to go in terms of close it and vote a decision with conditions.
I'll open it up to the board. Any questions?
How many spaces total do you have delineated on the plan?
So if you could scan up, Elaine, please. So we have a breakdown per building. So we have 19 for the existing building. We have an additional 21 for the building addition. And then we have 14 proposed for the aggregate storage
So
building.
what's your total
So-
required and your total proposed?
So we have
Difference of 4.
19 and 21 is 40. So we have 58 required, and we have 54 proposed.
Okay, so you're asking for relief for 4 spaces?
Correct.
But you don't intend to ever stripe the spaces, and the spaces may move in the future?
We're going to stripe the spaces that are shown on the plan.
Okay.
I would say that if, Elaine, if you could please pan back down. There's certainly areas of the site, actually down to, show you that sheet 4, thank you. So there's certainly areas of the site that if the use of the aggregate storage building changed, you know, we could add the 4 spaces
Accommodate it, okay.
to accommodate what's required. We
What's-
certainly have other areas we could do that as well.
What's the setback between the spaces on the lot line?
About 15 feet, I would say. I mean, that's 19 feet.
And what was your increase in lot coverage between existing conditions and proposed?
Elaine, could you please go to sheet 1? So, the lot coverage was 10.9 existing and 42.3% proposed.
That's a big increase.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. It's still well below the 60% that's allowed.
Absolutely. My experience, I see people do a lot of paving that they don't necessarily need, so I always ask about it.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the board have any questions? Anything further from the applicant?
I think we're all set, I think.
Anybody has any questions we'd
Yeah.
like to answer?
I have one question because Route 1A is quite a busy, that's quite a busy little area right there.
Yes.
How many trucks are going to be coming in and out of here, and which direction are they going to be going in and out of?
We have 4 trucks that go out through there in the morning. They leave, anywhere around 6 or 7 in the morning, go out for, sometimes they're out for the whole day, sometimes they'll come in one, during the course of the day to reload, so it's only, 4 trucks in, 4 trucks out. And then, of course, we have a couple of habits that have little bit of in and out once in a while.
But not like big trucks, the Tinnets, they're not like,
No.
okay.
No. Pickup.
Pickup trucks, yeah, regular street vehicles,
Yes.
yeah.
Again, this is a currently operating business.
Yeah.
It's just outside. The idea for the aggregate storage is to put their materials inside so that, you know, in the winter, in the rain, the materials are still dry and climate controlled. So you currently have 4 mixer trucks operating out of there now. That's the plan, is to continue that. There may be an expansion to 5 at some point, but not,
Yeah.
this isn't
So
like
that's
a
not
Tresca
100.
Brothers operation
Yeah.
of 200 trucks coming in and out all day. That's not what they do. They load the materials, bring them to the site, and batch on site.
All right, good.
The building, excuse me, my name is Josephine, the building would be constructed, would it be prefabbed? Sheet metal,
It would be a steel building, yes.
would be steel, would it be higher than the existing structure there now?
So the building would be about the same height,
Okay.
but there's a silo associated with the proposed building. So we have requested a special permit, as that's just between the 40 to 46 foot height to the top of the silo. 40 feet is allowed by right, 46 by special permit, and that's a planning board special permit. So we have requested that just to be on the safe side, and that has to do with determining the height utilizing the average grade around the building. It's the grade around this proposed building is gonna go up approximately 10 feet along the two sides of the building. So the back portion of the building will be higher to load the materials into the building,
Okay.
and then the trucks will, almost like a walkout, if you will.
How
Trucks
wide,
will come in.
how wide would the access be for the building? Would it be like multiple doors for vehicles to go into? Would it be one door? I mean,
Could we go to sheet 3,
wait,
please? So there's 3 doors on the front for trucks to access into the building, one here, and then one down the center. And then there's 2 access points to the back where the materials will be delivered into the building.
and how would they be delivered? Like forklifts or mechanical?
Dump truck.
Okay, so-
It's basically stone and sand.
Oh, yes, okay.
So they dump a load of sand, and then it would get pushed in with a loader into these areas. And then a loader would come in here, load it. This is depressed, almost like a loading dock, but inside. So then as the loader would come into the building and, you know, pick up a load of sand and then turn it, would discharge it into the back of the truck, which is sitting down 4 feet in this loading area here. And the silo is for the actual cement itself, correct?
Okay. My understanding is that the site plan review's been continued with the planning board to their meeting in January. My recommendation is either, if this board, we may want to continue right on the heels of that. That way, if anything were to change, I don't expect it, we could then vote at our January meeting on this, wrap it up that night, and by that time, we may have a draft decision, close it out all at one time. That'd be so if we can get a motion to that effect, if everyone's on board with that.
You want to open up to the public?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Anybody from the public who would like to speak about this or on Zoom? Is there anybody on Zoom?
No, don't see any hands.
Okay.
In terms of,
When's our next hearing? Next meeting?
next meeting is January 19th. You do have one that's at 7:05 on the 19th.
So you just need a motion to move to.
So you want to move it?
Continue.
Continue it to the
to-
January 19th
Only
meeting.
because the planning board hasn't made a decision?
Well, they're getting to get some more feedback and some updates from site plan review. And while I don't really anticipate a plan to the parking requests or anything like that on our site plan or on our special permit request, I just, rather than vote our special permit tonight,
I'm just wondering why. I mean, we have everything in front of us. I
we
don't,
could vote it tonight if you like.
I don't know.
You can make a,
I might, why not? I mean, that just,
you could make a motion to close the hearing.
can I make a motion to close the hearing?
You can make a motion to close the hearing.
All right. I make a motion to close the hearing.
Is there a second?
Oh, I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
So what I'll do is,
Put together
yeah, decision.
a decision for us.
Yeah,
Okay.
for the next meeting, and then we can
Thank you. Have a good night.
Common sense.
vote it then.
Same to you. Thank you.
Deliberation or anything?
Yeah, you'll
We will
deliberate,
do-
but I'll have.
deliberate at the end of the
well,
meeting.
you- So what you're gonna do later tonight, the 2 decisions that I drafted, you'll be deliberating them. but it's just-
So it's good to be able to deliberate over the draft decision, maybe? Is that'd be good?
Yeah,
Yeah, we
I'm
could do
hoping
that at
that
the
I
next
give you
one.
pretty
Yeah.
what I give you is pretty close to the finished product, so you just,
Yeah.
you'll deliberate and,
Right, but same, if we have the opportunity to do the deliberation over a draft decision, that's not bad, you know?
that's what you will be doing.
That's what we'll be doing in January.
In
But-
January.
But see, if we had pushed it to January, then it would,
But we don't need
it
to
would
deliberate
actually
tonight
kind of,
necessarily.
we don't have to
You're not
deliberate
Fine,
tonight.
sounds great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, it being 7:25, on the agenda next, we have meet and greet with town council.
No, actually, that was an
Last
error on my part, you already
Okay,
did it.
I guess we don't have meet and greet with town council. Okay,
But town council is here in
town
person.
council is
So
here.
glad to see you.
So,
That was a quick meet and greet.
so,
All right,
but,
so,
yeah,
still being 7:25,
Yeah, 7:25. I believe this is the first hearing for this one, isn't it?
Yes, so if we
Yeah,
can,
so we need to read that.
we'll have the clerk.
So a notice hereby given in accordance with Chapter 40A of the Massachusetts General Laws and any and all amendments thereto, that a public hearing will be held by the Zoning Board of Appeals on Wednesday, December 15th, 2021, at 7:15 PM in room 124 at the Norfolk Town Hall, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass. The applicant, Next Grid Incorporated, for a special permit pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 9, as amended in Section D2B7 of the Norfolk zoning bylaws to allow a large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic system. The property is located at 90, 92, 96, 100, 100R Pond Street and 12 Sharon Ave. Assessors map 19, block 69, lots 27, 61, 55, 58, 43, and 28 in the C1 and C1B zoning district.
Okay, is the applicant in the room or
No, I don't,
on Zoom?
they're not in the room. I know who they are.
Yep.
They're not on Zoom either. iPhone, yeah. Somebody's clicking in now, just a
Okay,
moment.
we'll give it a
maybe.
moment, yep.
As far, is it for this one next page?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I'm a little, perhaps they forgot about it tonight? I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't heard, let me look at my emails to see if they.
Check an email before we
Yeah.
could continue the hearing.
Yeah, you have to continue it, or could we just leave the notice, leave the reading open while we move on? You know, continue it later if we have to?
Yeah, I think that probably, what would make sense.
Leave it open in case they show up this evening?
Yeah, and then we'll just,
Yeah, we have a few minutes before we can do anything else at the moment anyway.
yeah,
Okay.
so we'll just kind of leave it out there.
Just so you know, I have trouble with some of them are really important, right?
Yep.
So I can basically highlight.
Sure.
Some of them.
Okay.
Others and stuff. Others.
All right, well, we'll wait,
Mhm.
so then we'll,
Enforcing the bylaw.
hmm?
The 12 letters is important.
Wondering how
Yeah, all right.
We can, so if you want
Well,
to cite it.
When you say enforce,
Site,
this is a violation.
Right, so enforce the bylaw.
Right,
Right.
This
That's,
PV
all of these are
cell
just.
system.
Oh, this one here?
It's close to 228.
But some of the people find this really well.
It's right on that corner.
We weren't able to talk about specifics.
Well, it,
Well, they're all, some of them.
That
some
is
of them are-
it's right here.
so it was saying that it's here and then backs up to an address on Sharon.
They're cutting off
It's on the frame.
Sharon Avenue, Sharon Avenue, yeah.
They're concerned with-
Sharon Ave.
Sharon Avenue. See, it goes up to the police station up here.
Right, so I think what they're saying is,
And there's the water tower.
Yep, yep.
so the police department is 14, so I think this is 12,
Yeah, and this is-
Sharon, and I think they're just kind of combining all of those parcels.
I think I could at least acknowledge this.
mine.
I think you should.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere.
I don't know.
This is the,
Is there a notice for this one?
this is where this guy's putting his sand and gravel concrete thing right here.
No,
isn't
no,
it?
there's no-
No, that was down here. That was behind,
All right, you ready?
7:30.
let's see, he was behind Nevada's, yeah, he's right here. So this one is
Okay,
this area.
well, we got a few seconds here. It's almost 7:30.
Wooded and-
Yeah,
What's that?
taking all the woods out.
Yeah,
We're gonna first hear
well,
from-
you're losing green to make green, so I guess it's.
Right, you should put it in the parking lot.
Yeah.
You have the,
Yep, okay, it's 7:30. Our next appointment is 31 Freedom Trail.
No, Notice hereby given in accordance with Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws and any and all amendments thereto, that a public hearing will be held by the Zoning Board of Appeals in Room 124 at the Norfolk Municipal Building on December 15, 2021 for the following application. Brian and Michael Sullivan at 7:30 PM for an appeal of the Building Commissioner of Zoning Enforcement Officer's decision in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 8, and Norfolk zoning bylaws, F10CF glare. No direct or sky reflecting glare shall be permitted, whether from floodlights or from high-temperature processes such as a combustion or from signs otherwise permitted for the property addressed at 31 Freedom Trail. Reference Assessors Map 25, Block 87, Lot 63, in the R3 zoning district.
Thank you. Is Brian or Michelle Sullivan here, or their counsel?
Yes, Kevin Phillip on behalf of the Sullivans, Mr. and Mrs. Sullivan are both here.
Please join us. There's a microphone up here if you want to. Good evening.
Good evening. Do we need to speak into them, or we'll leave them on the table?
If you,
You need to speak into them for people at home.
Yeah.
Unless
All right,
it's
very
not
good.
for in the room. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Kilduff. I'm counsel to Brian and Michelle Sullivan, residents of 31 Freedom Trail in Norfolk, Massachusetts.
okay, and you're here on a notice of a violation of a zoning bylaw,
That is correct.
and you'd like to address that?
Correct.
Okay, please go right ahead.
Okay. I want to clarify some of the facts first, if I may, and then I have two arguments that I'd like to make. One is a procedural argument, the other one is a statutory argument. But before I do that, I want to start with really the procedural deficiency, which is when the first notice of violation was served on my clients assert that they've never received that notice. It was then alleged that my clients ignored that notice, and a second notice was then issued. That second notice was in fact received by my client, forwarded to me, and I immediately responded to the town on their behalf. In the second allegation, it was asserted that my client ignored the first one, and as I stated, they never received it. There is a return of a certified mail to it, but if you look at that certified receipt from the post office, it clearly was not signed by my client. We're not certain who signed it, but it was clearly not delivered to my client, and we never received notice of that. So I just want to make sure that I set the record straight, that the second notice violation was the first time we were ever made aware of the issue. All right. Now, the procedural issue that I have with the violation is as follows. Shortly after receiving the second notification, which was first notification, but after receiving that notification, I was in contact with the town representative to try to find more information regarding the genesis of the complaint. And I was told over the phone by a representative of the town that because I asked them, why didn't somebody approach my client? Why weren't my clients made aware of this issue? They're very reasonable people. I think we could have resolved this without the need for a violation or for even a procedural hearing like this. And I was told that they acknowledged that no attempt was ever made to communicate with my clients directly before issuing the notice. And then secondarily, at no point in time, to my knowledge, did anyone ever appear at my client's property to visually inspect the structure, either in the daytime to see what kind of glare was alleged to have created, or more importantly, even in the evening after dark. So no town official ever came. What happened was a neighbor complained via email. They called on the phone and then were told to send photographs. Those photographs were then emailed to the town official, and a determination was made solely and strictly based upon a couple of photographs that were submitted to the town. So as a procedural matter, I think there's a deficiency there, and that a violation was issued without anyone ever coming out to inspect the property to determine what type of glare may have been created by this. Making a determination based upon visual aids, including photographs, in my opinion, are deficient. So that's my procedural deficiency.
my statutory deficiency is a bit more technical in that what the bylaws prohibit. It's very short, so bear with me if I may. The bylaws F10C4 glare states, and I quote, "No direct or sky-reflected glare may be permitted, whether from floodlights or from high-temperature processes such as combustion or from signs otherwise permitted." All right? Now, clearly there's no sky-reflected light being asserted here. The only possible violation could come from the interpretation of floodlights or high-temperature processes, but there are no combustibles, nor are there otherwise signs. So again, I come back to what is creating the glare. And what is alleged to have created the glare are 2 rows of LED lights that are being used to facilitate a greenhouse. We live in a world now where sustainability is encouraged amongst our community. My client put a sun porch, a sunroom. What do you call it? A screenhouse. What do you
Solarium?
Yeah, it's like a slam. They're growing vegetables in their backyard. The greenhouse. Thank you. I couldn't think of it. My apologies.
Is it a hoop house or a
So
full
yes,
greenhouse?
yeah, a plastic
Hoop house.
hoop house.
Okay.
All right, and they're using that as a greenhouse to grow vegetables. All right, and I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to interject. I have up on the screen, which, to correct the record, that the building department did go to the property next door to do an inspection, so to suggest that they didn't actually go to the property, it was just via photos, is incorrect.
Is this the November 30th letter?
Yeah.
This letter contradicts what I was told on the phone. This was a November 30th letter that was just issued less than 2 weeks ago, and this contradicts what I was told over the phone. I have read this letter, and I do concede that this letter states that someone came out to visit the neighbor on or about at that time. But I don't believe this letter even indicates that they visually inspected my client's greenhouse, either in the daytime or in the
property
evening.
that your client lives next door to that property?
They went
and
to the neighboring property.
Correct. And they were on that property and visually saw your client's property from that property. So they were physically at the property to see it.
They weren't necessarily on your
They
property.
were not on your
but they
client's
were-
property, but they were on the neighbor's
It's like somebody
property.
can walk up to the side of my farm, see my cows, but they're not necessarily on my property. They know they're cows.
I understand the
Okay.
distinction, and again, that was on that November 30th hearing. That was the first time that it was even asserted or alleged to me that had happened. When I spoke with a town representative, I was told that it was all done via email and through the submission of photographs.
And when or about was this phone call that you're?
That was within 48 hours of having received that second what is deemed to be the second violation.
Okay.
I immediately reached out and contacted the town official.
Got
In
it.
fact, in my response, if you have a copy of my letter, I believe I make reference to that.
Okay, so just to recap,
to give
it
it the
sounds
timeframe.
like you stipulate that you've received the second notice.
Correct.
And it sounds like there's evidence that someone from the town did go out and look at, inspect. That's what it sounds like to me. Are we
And
in
that was
agreement
done
on that?
And that was done during the daytime.
Right, are we in agreement on those 2 points?
Again, I'm not going to concede that because I was told something different, but if, based on the representation that was made in that letter, if that's the finding you want to make,
Okay.
I won't concede that point, but if that's the determination that you choose to make, I'm not going to object to
But
that.
you don't oppose that?
I don't oppose that.
Okay.
But I won't concede to that point. All right. Now, so what the bylaws prohibit is a glare. All right. Now, nowhere in the bylaws is glare defined. Nowhere in the bylaws. I've looked, and I would encourage each of you to look. When we talk about noise can constitute a violation. In the bylaws, what is prohibited are noise levels in excess of certain decibels depending upon the time of day. So there is an objective criteria, an objective measurement that can determine whether or not someone is in violation of the noise ordinance, because if a machine is brought out and the decibels are measured and the decibels exceed the statutory criteria, then a violation has occurred. In measuring odors, odors again are an objective criteria. They're measured by parts per thousand of hydrogen sulfide. In this particular case, there is no definition of glare. It is impossible for a homeowner to determine if and when they're ever going to be in violation of the glare because it's not measured in any quantifiable method. If it were measured by lumens or by some other criteria, as the odor is, as the noise criteria are, then one could say, okay, we'll keep our lumens below a certain level in order to make sure that we maintain a consistency with the bylaws. But the bylaws don't define glare by any meaningful definition, and they certainly don't create an objective
Let me
criteria that we can
interrupt.
use. Please.
What you're suggesting, I've experienced it myself.
You've
okay?
experienced what, sir?
Glare.
Okay.
If you're sleeping in a room and you intend to keep your curtains open all night, any bright light coming through trees is a glare. You don't need to measure the lumens. If you have to put in light blocking screens to take it out, you know it's a glare. That's what I had to do.
All right. I will
So if
respectfully
you're s-
disagree
if
with that
people like to-
definition.
If people like to sleep with their curtains open at night, they don't expect to have lights shining in through their windows.
Okay. All right. I will respectfully disagree with your interpretation of the phrase glare. I looked up what glare means in the Massachusetts statute and in other towns that have defined it, and that's not the definition that they use.
They went
Now,
to lumens, they went
no,
into
they did.
lumens
No,
to
they
square
no, they
meter
did
and
not.
everything else?
I will tell you under a Massachusetts Senate Bill 1833. They talk about an act improving outdoor lighting and increasing dark sky visibility. Under this act, glare is defined as light emanated from a fixture that causes visual discomfort and reduced viability. So when you're driving down the highway and the sun is setting and you can't see in front of you because the solar glare that's coming at you, that is objectively impairing your visibility. That's how glare is defined, is something that impairs your visibility, not a bright light that happens to be outside your window, because by your definition, arguably half of the Christmas lights that people put out in the holidays would constitute a violation of the glare statute by your interpretation.
I think we
Now-
understand the point that you're making with respect to the difference between transportation safety and nuisance regulations and nuisance law. Can we move forward?
Sure.
One question, Counsel, before you
course.
move forward. Just on this definition of glare, if you, in the town of Norfolk bylaws, it does, under definitions, it does say that terms and words defined herein are shown in all capital letters throughout the bylaw. Terms and words not defined herein but defined in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts State Building Code shall have the meaning given therein unless a contrary intention clearly appears. I don't know whether or not glare is defined in the State Building Code. But it goes on. It says, words not defined in either place shall have the meaning given in Webster's unabridged dictionary. So I did take a stab this afternoon and looked up Webster's unabridged dictionary definition of glare. So
Okay.
I think that would be, and councils here, they could help us with that, but I think that's the intent and what the bylaw, how the bylaw would read.
All right. Well, and just a point of clarification. By your interpretation, does glare with the capital G fall within the first or the second criteria that you just identified?
Well, it's a capital G because it's the beginning of a sentence, so
And-
if we're
and
gonna
that's why I'm asking
split
the
hairs
question.
here.
If it's capitalized, all in caps is defined within the bylaw. If it's not all within caps, it's not defined within the bylaw.
This is a capitalized letter because it's the beginning of the sentence. It's not a capitalized word in
It's,
all
it's,
caps.
it's not at all
The sentence
caps.
cap-
So the
So it's
entire
not- it's
word would
not-
have to be all
The
caps? Is that
entire
what-
word would
okay,
have to be
fair enough.
capitalized.
Okay.
It's the difference between
All right.
sentence case and all caps.
All right.
Like a difference between a
So it's
capital
not
letter.
intended to be defined within the zoning bylaws. It's intended to be defined by either state law or Webster's.
Okay, so assuming that it's not in all caps, then what definition were you able to identify then through Webster's dictionary?
Well, I'll wait for you. I mean,
Okay.
I'll let you present
All
your
right,
case.
I'm sorry, I thought you were, I thought you wanted to make that argument. Okay. I also brought with me a a copy of the bulbs that are being used inside. And if I may, I'd like to demonstrate to everybody. It is an LED light. It's not a fluorescent light that lights in all directions and, and emanates lights in all directions. It is a directional LED light that sits on the top of this, circular bulb. And as you can see from the strip inside, it is unidirectional. And what I mean by unidirectional is when it's hung, it only emanates light straight down. And when I take that back, it directs light straight down. All right. Now, obviously, light will radiate in each of the directions, and because it is in a greenhouse, I'm not going to misrepresent and say that it doesn't create a glow. All right. It does create a glow, but a glow is very different from a glare. A glare is if the light were shining at you, and to the point where you have to block your eyes in order to shield yourself from the light. These lights do not emanate out. They don't emanate sideways, not at 45-degree angles. These go straight down. All right? They sit 7 feet from the ground, 7 feet, and they shine straight down. Now, I cannot imagine how anyone could say that a light sitting 7 feet from the ground that points straight down can create a glare 100 or 200 feet away. Now, does it create a glow? Yes, I'll concede that it creates a glow. A glow is not an objectionable term within the definition of the bylaws. It prohibits a glare. It does not prohibit a glow. Again, I thought it was important for you to understand that this isn't a fluorescent bulb that shines in all directions. It is unidirectional, pointing straight down from a height not in excess of 7 feet. Okay? So again, to suggest that it is creating a glare hundreds of feet away when it's pointing down, I just don't see how that argument can be made or sustained. And again, there are no floodlights inside the greenhouse at all.
Yeah, I just had a question. Do
course.
these bulbs serve a particular purpose? Do they help grow vegetables?
Yes, that's their sole purpose. Yep.
Is it a hydroponic system or?
No, water fed, but not hydroponic, no.
How tall is this hoop house?
That I don't know.
9 feet tall.
9 feet, so the lights are at the top of it?
Nope, they are not. In fact, I have,
They're
I have
like a couple
pictures.
feet off of the,
I have 5 sets of pictures. If folks wouldn't mind sharing, I'm happy to share.
happy to share.
I'm happy to
Okay.
share, and there's multiple pictures
So
within
they're
each
like
packet.
8 feet off of the ground?
No, they are 7 feet off of the ground.
7 feet, okay. How
Alright.
close is this to the lot line?
I'm sorry.
25 feet? Okay.
And there's one more set. All right. Now, if I can, I would like, as you can see from the very first picture, there's only 2 rows of lights. One along the left side, directly on top of the vegetables, and the other on the right side, again, directly on top of the vegetables. And as you can tell from the door frame in the back, again, I know this isn't obviously to scale, but if you can see from the doorway in the back, that doorway sits at about 7 feet in height, and these are at the height, approximately the height of the door. Now,
When are these lights typically on?
they go on at
Got a
7
jumper.
o'clock in the morning, and currently, they're turned off at 5:30 p.m. every evening. Now, previously, at the
recent
time
change?
at the time of the complaint, they were going from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. And then after the complaint was served, my clients, again, in an attempt to be neighborly, they started turning the lights off at 5:30 p.m. Again, going back to the point where, they don't want to create a nuisance for people who are trying to sleep and so forth. But these lights they were previously off at 7 p.m. Now they're off at 5:30 p.m. every evening. And again, if you look at page number 2 and picture number 3, you'll see that during the daytime, you can barely tell that they're on. All you see in the background is a faint, pink, glow.
That's the
during
color,
the
that's
daytime
that's the color of the light?
That is the color of the light, yes. Yep, it's a pinkish light. And again, different vegetables grow better under different spectrums of light. All right, so at certain times, certain plants grow better under blue light or yellow light or red lights. These, for the vegetables they're growing, the pink is what facilitates them.
Are you able to control the color of these LEDs in the tubes?
No,
No.
It's all pink.
Pink is the full spectrum for best for growing.
Spectrum, okay.
And these photos were taken evening, day? What
So most of these were taken during the daytime. Hold on, let me see if there was one in the evening, and I don't, you know what? I don't believe we do have one in the evening. No.
Is there any covering between the greenhouse and the neighbor?
Well, there are a series of trees.
Right, but is there any covering?
Any screening?
No, there's no screenings.
Okay.
No, the neighbor cleared right to the property line, so they don't have any covering.
But do you have any
Say that
covering?
again?
I have some woods there between, I have 25 feet
They
of woods
built
between the
Do you have
house.
woods heavily,
Just whatever,
this
it's
screen there?
just natural wood.
I mean, you can see from picture number 2 that there are some large trees that, that neighbor right up against the greenhouse from the second picture in. You can see some very large trees that are right along, right
nothing-
along.
but
So then
nothing-
direct sun is not a big concern here, right?
Direct sun, I'm
Yeah,
not sure I follow the
direct-
question.
Because your hoop house, he's asking about screening. I'm asking, do you need direct sun to run the hoop house with the lights in it? Which I'm guessing the answer is no, which means that you can provide better screening on this. That's the train of thought that's coming.
Again, I'm not sure I follow it. Say it again.
Because because the plants inside of the hoop house are not dependent on sunlight, because it's located in the shade, you don't have to have a clear plastic exterior on this. You could use something opaque, and then you wouldn't be here.
I'm not sure that that's accurate. That the sun, yeah, I mean, the sun is out every day, and especially in the summertime, the vegetables are greatly assisted
I mean,
by the natural sunlight.
I can see on the lot, I'm just wondering, because if it doesn't need direct sun 100%, is there a way with the neighbor that you have that is complaining, if you could make it slightly more opaque on that side so it's glowing into the yard and not out of the yard, and you'd call it, and then you'd probably be okay.
I don't know the answer to that. I suppose some level of screening could be installed in order to help.
Usually,
address that issue?
The middle ground is a good solution that, I don't know that if we put it,
Well, that was what we attempted to do when we, again, voluntarily reduced it to 5:30 p.m. I mean, the sun goes down at 4:20. I mean, we're talking about an hour and 10 minutes. And let's face it,
that part isn't unreasonable, but the thing is that you're coming for a violation for something that runs with the land. And what happens is, let's say you have good clients right now, they sell the house, we get bad neighbors who then run it all night, and we're here with somebody who has it on at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's not about your client specifically, it's about what's happening with the land.
I don't disagree with that. And again, that's why I came with my procedural and my statutory argument. I'll fall back on the fact that statutorily, I simply don't believe this is a violation. What I'm trying to do is offer a practical solution, because I think legally there's a deficiency, and the deficiency is it doesn't create a glare by virtue of the definition of the bylaws, and we're trying to offer a practical solution to it. A practical solution is having the lights turned off at 5:30 p.m. Every evening until we enter into daylight savings time, and it starts staying
So
out
reduce
later in the
generally from
evening.
7 PM, which it was apparently earlier, to 5:30.
That is correct. Yeah.
And so the major complaint, I'm sorry, comes because the lights are on when the sun is out. And the complaint is coming because the lights are on during the day.
No. My understanding is that the complaint comes from the evening when the sun goes down.
When it was on
and
till
now all of a
7.
sudden, with the dark sky, this creates a pinkish glow in the backyard.
Gotcha.
And that's my understanding as the nature of the complaint. And again, trying to be reasonable in approach to that. At 5:30, nobody's going to bed at 5:30 in the evening.
Right.
So by reducing the time in which we utilize them, we're hoping to satisfy and resolve the issue. And that's why I said, had the town come to us or someone come to us in advance, I think we could have avoided all of
Yeah,
this
I
with a
would agree.
reasonable solution.
I would agree.
I'm really interested in knowing the proximity of the neighbor's house to yours, Mr.
About
Sullivan.
125 feet from the greenhouse,
Is it a two-story house, a single-story house?
the people next door?
Yes.
Yes,
Two-story, correct?
two-story house.
How many, is just one abutter, you think, or there might be more from even the other streets, or?
The greenhouse is in my client's backyard, but it favors the left side, so it would be the neighbor to the left that would have, from the neighbor to the right side, I think would have difficulty. That's somewhat heavily wooded there, and there is also a fence that leads to a pool, so I think that would shield the neighbor to the right from any of that.
So that's right and left, is there anything behind, like, is there like, a neighboring street looking?
No, there is
Looking
not.
at it here.
No.
It's,
No,
It's
the
down
other
to
side is
Foxborough, and it's
Foxborough.
commercial, and it's an open lot, in fact.
it's all
into
commercial
the
stuff
back.
behind
So
it.
between your client's
Where is he?
greenhouse and the abutter
And where's the neighbor? Tell me which
that
one.
we're most concerned about, apparently, how much
I would guess this, so if he
space
says it's on the left side.
is there between,
So I know, we're gonna look at
between
that,
the
right?
greenhouse and your lot line?
Yeah, so we have a picture,
Oh, this one,
25?
he said it was less brush.
25 feet?
so, Mr. Chairman, we have a picture.
So
Okay.
there's a slide presentation there that, from the budding property.
And who took these photos?
Do you know what the address was? Okay,
Before we get there, okay.
okay, yeah, we're gonna be talking to the audience. Sorry.
Did,
That's a pretty good glow.
yeah, did you bring any
And
photos?
I agree with your characterization of it as a glow.
I'm using your words.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just-
I appreciate that. I appreciate it.
That's a pretty
Counsel, do
good
you have
glow.
any photos from the evening?
I do
Yes.
not.
Okay. And before we move on and move on with the public and let them address it, we talked about that you've, since receiving the notice, you've reduced the usage to down to 5:30 PM. In the morning at 7 AM. Do you anticipate, it's, it's somewhat dark these days at 7 AM, I think.
No, the sun comes up every morning, just
It does, yeah.
So
literally
right
minutes
okay, so
around,
you-
minutes
primarily you
before,
think
minutes
it's-
after.
okay.
Yes.
It's- yeah,
And
it's
that's
right-
why it
it's
was
right
designed
around
to set at
that's
7 o'clock.
Cows, so.
Right.
Yeah, that's close, yeah.
Yeah. And after, within a week, the days will start getting longer, and we'll start gaining light on both ends of that.
So before we open it up to the public,
I'm still looking at these pictures.
yeah, we'll get there. I just want you to, we have a lot of emails and correspondence from the.
May I address them, or do you want to read them into the record
We'll let
first,
you
and
get-
I'll
we'll let you
address
get
them?
them into the record.
Fair enough,
And then
okay.
you'd certainly have an
Absolutely,
opportunity
go
to
right
respond.
ahead.
Well, I know we have at least 12 emails from residents here in Norfolk. I'd say some are either close abutters, one would definitely be in a butter, and others are just other supporters from the town who just feel that, a nuisance like this is something that they feel should be enforced through the bylaw. I can read them all in, they're pretty similar in most cases, but they all support that they'd like to see the zoning bylaw enforced according to what they feel is a nuisance and affects the property values. So, do you want me to read each one, or which abutters wrote in? I'm sure some of them are gonna be on the line here, so.
Does he have to read them
I
all
can just
in?
acknowledge that we have, I'll go through where they are and who they are. All right, so.
I think
we
it's
have-
helpful.
So just say, we have at least 12 here from, we have one from Claire Atwood from 27 Freedom Trail. We have one from Donna and Phil Santa Barbara from 28 Freedom Trail, so that's in the same neighborhood that we're a butter. We have Emily Berdue, from 37 Freedom Trail. We have Tom and Sharon Burns from 38 Freedom Trail. We have from 22 Valentine Drive, Lisa and Rob Simus, excuse me if I mispronounce anybody. Again, supporting that that they see a nuisance, that they can see this in there where they are. Also, other addresses in 28 Lafayette Lane from Lauren Love, excuse me. Amanda Hartley from 9 Lantern Lane, Norfolk. We have Betty Ann Wakely, from 22 Brett Farm Road. We have from 22 Essex Street, Bridget Bishop. We have Elizabeth Falvey from 9 Robin Road, 6 Robin Road, We have Kara Nicholson from 17 Kinney Pond Road, And we have Tim Wainick from 82 King Street. Again, basically, concern that allowing this nuisance with pink greenhouse lights would devalue properties here in Norfolk, and that they urge the zoning board of appeals to deny the appeal by the owners of 31 Freedom Trail. Basically, the gist of the letters. Again, some are close abutters, some are other supporters.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think you summarized and encapsulated the arguments fairly well. And I also agree with you, there are approximately 5 abutters who are, I'm not sure that all 5 of these fall within the 300-foot boundary, but they all certainly are neighbors who could see my client's house from their house. The other 7 are most of them are on the other side of town. So I think they're just supporting in general rather than talking about this particular instance because they're not nowhere within sight of my client.
And
Now,
they might be supporting what they may have seen themselves if they visited the properties.
Perhaps.
I mean-
But the real issue here, if I may, the real issue is, and if, again, I'll happily read each one of them out loud if I can, but to your very point, everyone argues, oh, this is a nuisance, it's obnoxious, it's gonna hurt my property value. That's not what is a criteria within your bylaws. There's nothing in the bylaws that say if you put up a statue that your neighbors don't like and that you find is obnoxious and is going to decrease the value of your house, if you paint your house, plaid and it's going to affect your neighbors, there's nothing in here to prohibit that. All right? So all of the arguments being made are, I don't like it, my broker tells me it's going to reduce the value of my property, and therefore I'm objecting. That is not a reasonable objection. That is not a statutory objection, and it's certainly not an objection that this body can find in favor of. That's not a violation.
One
I
concern
think
do
the
have-
objection was found out by the building commissioner of a zoning violation.
No, I understand.
think
What I'm
that's the
saying is,
violation.
I understand the violation from the town. What I'm saying is, each and every one of these letters in support all talk about the devaluation of their property. Not one of them says, hey, that light is shining in my window and it's creating a glare and it's hurting my eyes. And that's not one of them says that. I encourage you
We
to
all
read each
have
of them.
we have the letters.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Right,
Yep.
so, we have-
If the
So are you
board
willing to
makes-
concede that none of them say that?
No, but what I'm saying is this board is probably not likely to make a specific finding based that is specific to those letters that say that that's the reason why this board is making that decision. So I think you can move on from this point
Yeah,
too.
but
I would agree. We're really here because you received a zoning violation from the building enforcement officer, and that's the issue. I just wanted to get into the record so people could be heard, to document the record, that their emails have been
I don't
recognized.
see any
I'm
need
not
to
saying how we're gonna weigh it one way or the other.
I don't think there's a need to refute the public comment in the letters at this point in time. It's just reading it into the record.
So-
One point I want to bring up too, and to the sense of some of the letters where the concern, especially if it was one of the abutter letters, we saw a picture up here a few moments ago, it looked like a nighttime picture. Light that emanates onto other properties, that could be an issue, because, light shouldn't be emitting onto other properties. And when I saw the glow, I don't know how far that reaches, I can't say because I wasn't visiting it myself, but could some of this glow, be actually illuminating even parts of other properties, if not even just one abutter, but even that would be kind of a concern. So that's my concern. I mean, even for the closest abutter who has some direct line of sight to this, because I know one has a look directly across from their window. Basically, is this glow basically on their property?
Again, and I can't testify that I've seen it at the nighttime, but my clients have told me that it doesn't emanate far onto somebody's property. And again, that's why I called it procedural deficiency and the town issuing a violation when no town official went and viewed that themselves.
So
They're
by-
making a
but-
determination, if I may, they're making a determination based upon a neighbor's supposition and a neighbor's allegation, not based upon their own personal observations.
But you just said far onto other neighboring properties. You yourself concede that there is light projecting onto neighboring properties.
I can't concede that. I just said a moment ago that I've never been there in the evening. I can't say that.
Those hanging lights there could also be intruding on someone else's property
And that's
too.
my point.
It's a slippery slope
Thank you for
that you're
picking up on
trying
that,
to-
because I was gonna say the brightest light that I see on this photo are these 5 lights in the bottom right-hand corner that seem to shine or glow or glare much brighter than my client's
Could be
lights in the
nighttime
background.
photography, though. I mean, we're not comparing the wattage of one to the other. Your clients are the subject of the violation tonight, so let's stay on that property.
Yeah,
I'm gonna open it up to the
it's fine too.
to the residents and the people who are here and to the folks on Zoom. But before I do that, just one quick question for council. Do you know how long those lights have, you might have already said, when did the lights go on?
7 a.m.
No.
Now, when did it start?
The first time.
Oh,
When, was it this year? Is it this so this is the
May?
first year for it?
in May of 2021.
Okay. So I'd like to open up the hearing to anybody in the audience who'd like to have a question. Please identify yourself.
These are my photos. I'm Karen
Will
Kegley.
you pass her the microphone?
Thank you.
I'm Karen Kegley. I'm the abutting neighbor. This is my house during the daytime. Now, it is 6:50 PM
Okay,
on September 26th, and you can see the glare on.
that's your window?
That is my window. This is in my backyard facing my house, and you can see the greenhouse. If we could go to next photos. This is my daughter's bedroom, 6:40 PM, October 5th. I should also mention that we noticed these greenhouses went on, the greenhouse went on June 1st, and at that time they were on until 9 or 9:30. We needed to put a room darkening shade right there because she had to go to sleep and she could not with the pink lights coming into the window. So this is the furthest bedroom from this property line. This is on the other side of the property from this neighbor. Here is a photo from the other side of the street. You can see my mailbox, a little white line up here. This is my mailbox. I'm on the sidewalk on the other side. This is my house. This is my husband's car. License plate. This is what you see when you come to my house. About 280 feet, I kind of measured it from where I took the photo to the end of my property, and then another 25 feet to their greenhouse. If we could go to the next slide, please. This is what I believe is glare on my house. I'm in my driveway. You can see pink. I won't call it a glow. I'll call it a glare, but I don't know. 6:30, October 13th. Here I am in my kitchen. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have the time on this, and I could find it for you, but it's probably 6:30. This is what we see from every room in the middle to the back of our house. Here it is, October 23rd. That's my daughter sitting there. This is all we see in the back of our house.
Do you think these lights would present a problem if they were only on at this time of year, from 7 AM to 4 PM this time of year?
No, because there's still glare during the daylight, and I don't know if we've gotten to that one or if it's coming, but well, here's one. I mean, it's getting darker, but almost 5 o'clock. But you can see that the back of my house is pink. My house is blue with white trim, not blue with pink trim. So it's turned the back of my house pink. If you're asking what I think would work, is some type
No,
of
I'm asking
screening.
if it's a concern of yours during the typical daylight hours.
Well, okay, at this time of year, no,
Something in
yes.
the
I
residential
can't
section.
see, so we've lost a lot of those leaves. And here's somebody was asking about trees. This is, June 1st. So this is the tree, this is all of the greenery that there is.
Do we know what time of day that is?
Yes. Is it listed there? Could you scroll down a little bit?
So that's about the time the greenhouse was turned on, June 1st?
It was turned on that I know, June 1st.
Right about June 1st?
If you can
The
scroll.
end of May, beginning of
Yes,
June.
so that's about 8 PM.
Okay.
I had, and to correct, some confusion or misunderstanding, I had called and in September, I kind of thought this would be like a summer project, but it continued. And I asked the town, I spoke with Jonathan Ackley and Bob Bullock. I spoke with them on the phone, and they came to the house that day, and they stood there and they saw it, and they said, okay, send us some information. We see what you see. We see the house. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon in September, late September. So I said to the town, and I also said to Rich, the greenhouse does not bother me. I'm happy for that kind of thing. I just don't want to see it. I don't want to live with the consequences of someone else's color choice, pinks. I am happy that they're doing sustainability. I just don't want to see it.
I'm sorry, did you say that Mr. Bullock or Mr. Akeley came to your property?
Both, yep, they both came
And
to
that
my.
was in September?
September 20-something, it's in one of the letters, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak, be heard? Please, go right ahead. Take the microphone, identify yourself, please. Name and address. That's just for, you can just talk into it, that's for TV.
My name's Tom Burns. I'm at 35 Freedom Trail. You mentioned 38. It was just a
I'm sorry,
mistake.
said it wrong? I apologize.
I can definitely speak to the glare. I will call it glare. It is as bright as it seems in this photograph, for certain. This is daytime, essentially, at 8 o'clock in June. The sun's not down for many hours from then. This time of year, there is no tree cover. I'm a full property plus away, and it is very bright. I agree they are shutting it off earlier. 100% that is happening. But to the point made earlier, I'm more concerned with the code being enforced for whomever may occupy that property in the future. And for any other property in the town, that this goes completely unchecked, because when there is someone who is not going to be considerate, we are all going to be back here. And, you know, I'm not experiencing the direct glare into my home. It is perfectly visible from my yard, from my kitchen. However, you know, with this code being in existence, I would just ask you enforce the building code.
Thank
Simple
you.
as that.
Anybody else in the audience that would like to address the board? Is there anybody on Zoom? Nobody on Zoom? No. Anything else from the board? Any further questions?
What's the use of the two accessory structures in your backyard?
We have a question.
Which structures you're referring to?
I see two accessory structures in your backyard, and I'm just wondering, do you have a structure that you can move this operation into that wouldn't be causing this nuisance to your neighbor?
No, one's a pool house.
So a cabana?
Yeah, and the other one's a pergola.
So you have a couple of structures on your property already that provide some level of screening, but
This is behind the pool house.
so this is as far from your, this is basically as far from your house as possible and as close to your neighbors?
No, it's not. It's
No. I'm just-
closer to his house than it is to the neighbor's house.
Do you have
In
a
fact,
site
if
plan
you
or
look-
anything that shows the location
All right.
of this?
So if you look here, this is the edge of the pool house here.
I'm looking, but I asked the question though, do you have a
What's the
site
question?
plan or anything that
No.
shows where this is actually located on your property
Or a
line?
plot plan or
Because
something?
it seems to me, by creating a hoop house, and this is a particularly large one, I thought we were gonna be looking at one of them little 8-foot wide ones, but, you know, you circumvent the regulations by creating a temporary structure, but then you put in all of this lighting that creates the nuisance issue. We have building code regulations that require structures for, you know, this to me is just kind of like wiggling around the structure issue that would have otherwise provided these protections to your neighbors. And so absent of a structure, absent of a fence, absent of any opacity in the structure, I just don't see, you know, other than turning the lights off slightly earlier, what you've done to actually offset the impacts to neighboring properties. Because whether you want to call it glow, it looks like glare, it looks like an acceptable definition of glare, it looks like the proper process did occur, it looks like there would not be much reason to not support the building inspector. I'm just curious, you know, because it seems like this has gotten pretty far for you to be here tonight and for you to have counsel, when a fence could have also solved this problem, or opacity could have solved this problem. There were other design solutions to this that could have solved this that wouldn't have brought you here
Well,
tonight.
with all due respect, my client was never afforded that opportunity. They were issued a violation before they were ever made aware that somebody objected to it.
Well,
So that's the first
violation is
one.
always an opportunity, though.
And again, my client responded. My client responded by turning them off earlier. And again, I guess my concern is that you've already made up your mind without knowing what the definition of glare is, and I don't know how you do that without finding out what the definition of glare is. And I have a real objection to that.
Well, if you'd like, I'd be more than happy to read you the dictionary definition, because I think it more than covers the
Yeah, if you want to go to the
situation.
Webster's Under Bridge, I think that's what the bylaw refers
Oh,
to.
I find it interesting that
Says-
it's mentioning the word glare, but it's not mentioning the word nuisance. And when things are a nuisance, they do mention them. like we have the word nuisance in the animal bylaw and all these other things. It's just mentioning glare and it's very vague and ambiguous.
Well, glare is to either stare in an angry or fierce way or to shine with a strong or dazzling light. And
To
so-
shine with a harsh and uncomfortably brilliant light.
Harsh and, I'm sorry, and say that again, please?
Shine with a harsh, uncomfortably brilliant light.
Uncomfortably
Stand out,
brilliant.
obtrude.
Uncomfortably brilliant. And again, that goes back to my
Stand
definition
out,
where I said
obtrude.
it has a visual impact on you. This doesn't have it has a glow, and someone may not like it. Oh, the back of my house is pink. I agree. It creates a glow. It does not create the
Well, you have to
glare
read-
that you
I would
just
read the entire
defined.
definition. It says stand out, obtrude.
Just stand out.
Obtrude.
I mean, the stadium, when its lights
It's
are
a-
on, they
obtrude.
consider that a glare.
It is a glare
Because
because
that's a
those lights.
nighttime, that's a
welcome or
nighttime
intrusive
light
way.
glare. You can't see the stars, you can't see anything.
I agree.
And that
Those
is
lights are not
considered,
pointed downward. They are pointed outward, and that
Again,
does
though-
create a glare. Of
Again,
course,
though,
it
with
does.
a downward facing light, again, you have the opportunity to offset where the foot candles are casting. You just need to make different design decisions in this hoop house.
Counsel, could you explain, you saw the photos from the neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't raise any objections to the photos.
I didn't
How
want to
is
be
it
rude.
that light is on the neighbor's window if it's only going down?
It created a reflection. Any light, white lights, Christmas lights,
So
any
it
lights is
doesn't
going to
just
create
go
a
down.
reflection off a window.
It
Any
does-
light at all is going to do that.
It doesn't just go down.
No. The light absolutely positively only goes down, but no matter what light you cast, it's going to emanate. That's what lights do. They emanate and they radiate light for observation
the
purposes.
extent that-
That's the design feature of the light. But they lights, again, that's why I brought an example of the fixture itself. It emanates in one direction. That's incontrovertible. All right? It only emanates in one, it's a unidirectional light. And again, but if a light only shone straight down, lights would be of very little value. The whole idea is that they are supposed to cast a wide viewing point. And again, you saw the two pictures. There are 2 rows of lights that are directly centered on top of the vegetable gardens. They're 7 feet from the ground, emanating straight down. Can't create a glare. Can create a glow, can't create a glare from that height.
I'd be interested in knowing how large this is. I see it looks large in the pictures, but if you can give me an idea.
Do you know the exact dimensions?
It's 20 feet wide and 40 feet long.
It's 20 by 40.
Are you selling vegetables?
I know, is this for commercial use?
No.
Do you need a permit to be able to build something like this?
No, the town, the building inspector came by and said it does not fall under needed permit for
In spite of the fact that if it were constructed of substantial materials, it by all means would be a structure. Because he constructed it of insubstantial materials, it's unregulated.
But again, my client's in compliance.
Oh, that's what you're, that's
Could it
what
be a
we're
different color
discussing.
light? Can we have, like, I don't know, a tarp or something? I don't know, I mean.
Again, if it were a colored tarp, then it would
Worse,
deflect the natural sunlight. The whole idea of the opaque structure is to allow natural sunlight to filter through as well. And let's face it, at the end of the day, we want as much natural sunlight as we can, but this time of the year, we simply don't, the Mother Nature isn't creating sufficient sunlight for us, so we rely on,
Well, is
we
the
rely on
pool
this.
located in direct sunlight?
Yeah, we're not using the pool this time of year either.
Yeah, but my point is you only get so much yard, right? And your pool's probably in the middle, and is open, has direct sunlight, and instead, because you have a pool there and a cabana and and the pergola, you then used all of the other usable area on your lot and then pushed it in the corner.
Yeah. One more question before we move to close the hearing. The photos that we've seen, in your opinion, are they a fair representation?
I haven't seen them in the evening, so I'm going
So
to
they
defer
are-
to my client and say, does this represent a fair depiction of what they look like in the evening?
No, I think it's a little, you can make a camera picture look however you want. Go take a look at it. It's not that bad. It's not that offensive a light. It's
I did have a question of neighbors. Does it bother you during the day as well?
I am happy to have anybody come until 5:15 at night and see it.
But during the day, if it's on, is it also?
At this time of year, no, because the trees are down, the leaves are down.
Yes.
So there is more direct light on the greenhouse. So there isn't that glow, when there are more like shade
Yes.
coverage, because it is.
Blocks it in.
It's
Yes.
lighting up, it lights up all the trees.
Yes.
Can you go back to that other picture?
I
we had
understand
earlier?
that, yeah.
The second one is,
So this
yeah.
time of year, it shows more.
It shows less this time of
Less
year during the
'cause it's just
day.
going down instead of bouncing back off and reflecting off the tree, the
I am
leaves.
curious to see what it would look like with the snow.
It seems like we're
You
trying
guys
to.
want to address us? Go right ahead.
It looks
Can
terrible.
you identify yourself, please?
I'm Neva Kegley. I'm the daughter of that home. I can tell you that was my room and that was pictures up there. I was one way to get the darkening shade. It looks terrible in the snow. We had a little bit of snow one day. It bounces up right into my room. I can't sleep. I gotta go to school the next day. We try.
Is that a fair representation?
We have
Those
had
photos
snow
are a
this
fair
year already.
representation of what
Oh,
you
yeah.
see out there.
When I was in my room today at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, doing whatever, starts to get dark. I'm laying in my bed and I can see it. Boom, right out there.
Does the pink glow, question for you, does the pink glow actually show up on the wall in your room?
Yeah, I have a perfectly white wall. All my walls are white, and right across from it, you can see where it bounces.
Yeah, if you look at the wall, it looks like it has a little bit of a U on it. Okay.
Yeah.
So you see a pink glare within your room?
Mm-hmm.
If I can, it's worse in the summer because in the summer it was on later because of the growing season. So 9 o'clock at night or so. And I think also because of the coverage of the trees and the leaves, it is coming into her room. Again, yes, you say something about photos could be changed. I don't know how to do that. That's why I am encouraging anyone to come and visit it if you'd like. However, the pink reflection that came off the light off of the wall in the summer, I did not take any photos because I thought, all right, this is going to go away. I didn't want to cause a problem with the neighbors, but it hasn't gone away. And at this point, I just would love, again, I don't want to get rid of the greenhouse. I just don't want to see it.
And again, I'll go back to the point, 9:30, I don't know how long they were on in the summertime, but my client has already addressed that issue and said they're more than happy to restrict the time period in which they operate the lights. And that goes for the summer as well as for the winter hours as well.
Is this a heated greenhouse or just a hoop house?
Just a hoop, no heat.
So what are you growing this time of year?
Michelle? Yeah.
Just curious.
I can't grow anything.
I was gonna say, I have a hard time and I have a farm, so.
So, right now I have kale,
Just
lettuce.
identify yourself, please.
Michelle Sullivan, I live at 31 Freedom Trail. I have kale, lettuce, carrots. We just finished up some potatoes, and that's about it right now. So these are cold weather crops, and you can actually grow in Maine in an unheated greenhouse all year long. So I've been following a program to see how I could do it, and it actually works. You can actually grow with very little water and very little heat or no heat. Okay, they call it a cool house or a cold house. Now, the one thing I would say is as much as they did not want to upset the neighbors, they never came to us. They never once came to us. You want to address that now? Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm happy to address it. The last time I came to them,
6 years ago?
yep,
Okay.
was when they were doing construction and they had whomever park a dumpster in front of my driveway.
It was not in front of your driveway.
I could not
Getting out-
get
sorry.
out.
Not tonight.
Just talk to.
So that's why I decided I would go through the town. I just didn't want to make it,
Just address the board, please.
yes. So, do you want me to continue with why I didn't or no? Okay.
No, it just sounds like there was bad blood
Yeah,
between
I just,
neighbors.
I wanted to.
I'm more focused on the lights.
Yeah, I just wanted, I knew I couldn't go to them because of this and other projects in the neighborhood that we deal with Foxborough. So we just decided, I also came to the town because I wanted to know, is this a violation? Is this something that I have to live with? And I don't know all the bylaws of Norfolk. So I just called and said, what does this look like? And they said, do you mind if we come out and take a look? I said, I'm happy to have you take a look.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Right, for the Mr. Sullivan, are there any other options, maybe this is for your wife or whatever, but any other options for lighting this type of stuff in terms of not being so obtrusive? Because this definitely has some nuisance value here. Are there other options?
Are there
I mean,
any
does
other
it- does this seem to
options
be
that are
quite-
available?
So it would be the color light is it the color of the light that bothers?
Or the intensity, or is it too intense?
So I went to a hydroponic store to ask that question because it is pink, and I said, first of all, am I using the right light? This is a new project for us. Is pink actually the best light? And yes, it is.
Right, is it too much, though? I mean, this seems like, is it high? Sometimes there's too much wattage going on, you know?
Well, there's not. Well, so LED lights don't have a lot of wattage. They don't actually have wattage.
It's
So
18 watts,
I think the question
according
was, was there
to.
another
That's about the
alternative, was there
brightness.
I
somebody
guess
that
my
mitigates
question is
this?
this:
Power usage.
if it's on during the day, and you've seen the pictures that I've shown you, those were taken, some of them today, during the daylight. So this is a current picture. Is that acceptable? Is lights during the day only acceptable? I understand this. I don't disagree that light and is certainly glow, but is it acceptable that it shuts off when it gets dark? You want to
It's-
set a precedent, that should be the precedent.
I suspect absence of screening, it's not going to be this board that makes that determination.
Well, screening would have been great even if it was suggested to us, but it wasn't. We went right to this level.
Okay, but there's still time to figure out another solution.
There's certainly time.
I understand the fine situation. I understand that's why you're debating when you got served. But I think what's really, there's two issues here. There's the substantive issue, that's the legal issue, and then there's the secondary issue of what's a functional solution forward for this group of people. And
Well,
that's
the town-
not really what we do here, but
Yeah,
I
so-
can make some suggestions
like
to you
that's-
that have to do with fencing and screening and finding a way to do something on the sides of the plastic just to bounce light back towards you.
Well,
I
this
don't
is
know
what-
if there's Mylar, you go to the hydroponic store, see what they have to say, but there's a
Okay.
design solution. It's just not what we do.
Any other substantive questions for counsel or his client? Yes,
No, I think we have enough input.
No, I think we're good.
can I get a motion to,
You wanna offer a,
I don't want to interject if I'm not needed, but I'm here to answer any questions, and I certainly have thoughts on participation.
What's the definition of, from town council, for glare versus glow?
So I think the appellant correctly points out that glare is not defined in your zoning bylaw, but it has to have some definition. And if it's not in your bylaw, the question is where do we look next?
Right.
I certainly agree that your bylaw instructs that if it's not defined in the bylaw, you can go to the dictionary after that.
And also, the bylaw doesn't say the word nuisance, and both of them are subjective, glare and nuisance, so I don't know.
So, I mean, it's up to the board to figure out what glare means in this context. You've got a bylaw that says no glare, and you don't find a word. So I do think you would turn probably next to the dictionary to do it. I think counsel for the appellant mentioned glare as defined in a bill, to the extent that that's just a bill. Not part of chapter 40A. I don't know that that would have any real direct relevance here. So I do think that you would go from bylaw to the dictionary, and from there, just to, common sense application of whether or not what you're looking at in the pictures and the evidence in front of you constitutes glare.
okay, thank you.
And I guess one other thing I would want to make just especially clear is that the procedural, that there was a deficiency in the procedure that was followed in the issuance of the enforcement order. There was absolutely no deficiency whatsoever in the way this came before the board. The building department received a complaint from the owner of the property. The building department went out and investigated from the abutter's property. And that's really how this is done. And they issued an enforcement order based upon what they observed. That's Bob and John. The fact that the building department didn't go on to the appellant's property or directly speak with the appellant before issuing that enforcement order really is completely beside the point. There's no procedural defect in the way this has been presented to the board.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
I do, is there any zoning restrictions if a screen were to be constructed to height and density and is there anything that would prohibit them at 31 Freedom Trail from doing that? Just as they
just need
continue,
a-
hopefully like thinking neighborly, right? Like,
Yeah.
is there anything that restricts them from,
Anything over 6 feet needs a building permit
Yeah.
for building code, but it's not a zoning issue as long as they stay on their own property.
gotcha.
I'm using my engineering thoughts here. One of the issues with light, it emanates in all directions. What probably would work here would be to put a reflector and shield past the horizontal line of these lights to prevent it coming out sideways.
Like Mylar could do it, couldn't it?
It could do.
And then it still shoot.
It could even be lightweight tin, tin plating, the shiny plating, and attach it to the
Yeah,
light.
shields that you could do
and
a
bring it
partial
down-
shield.
Bring
this
it
way.
down past the horizontal line of that, so that it would also improve the coverage on your growing as well.
Thank you, Chris. Any other questions? Got a motion to close the hearing? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we close the hearing for Brian and Michelle Sullivan for the appeal of the building commissioner's zoning enforcement officer's decision for 31 Feedham Trail.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay.
Would do it.
A little bit behind, but,
We're well behind. We're now ready, now that it's 8:30, we're ready for our
Under your plan.
For our 7:45?
For our 7:45, excuse me, Courtney, we're gonna move along here, we're a little behind, thanks. 7:45, 31 Campbell Street.
Looking for that one, hold on.
I can see it.
Lose track of it.
It's coming at the camera.
You have that one handy? Got it.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
I think you deliberate later on this, or?
What, on the lights? Probably, maybe, I don't know.
Thing is, if you can see
Have
the
no
light,
idea.
it's not going
You want him
No,
to stay
no.
for
the light
deliberation?
comes
Oh.
out from the source and it comes out all
I don't know,
directions.
if you think you'll
This is a
deliberate later,
classic
you want
nuisance.
council around or
That's why I'm
not?
like, it's not gonna be the board that determines that nuisance size.
We could,
We have one hearing,
why don't
right?
I ask the board what they,
Yeah. Yep.
excuse me, we're gonna, the question came up, do we think we're gonna deliberate this evening the application that we just heard, or the appeal we just heard?
And or do we need counsel still?
And do we want we do require council to be here? I'd be happy to deliberate tonight
Sure.
and move it on. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Mhm.
Do we need counsel?
Always, right?
It hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, well, if the hearing took a half hour, would that be an issue? Meaning if the
No, no.
council
No,
stayed?
I think well, council's here. Why don't we engage council to continue on and
Okay,
we'll get through it.
very good. All right, so I'm opening the next hearing then. Notice hereby given in accordance with Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws and all amendments thereto, that a public hearing is scheduled to be held by the Norfolk Zoning Board of Appeals on December 15th, 2021 at 7:45 PM in Room 124 at Norfolk Town Hall, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass. Matt Awart, has requested a variance to allow for a previously constructed shed with a 46-foot setback instead of the required 50-foot setback in accordance with Section 10 of the, Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws as an, oh, I'm sorry, this is a misread, but.
Yeah, that's not the right.
That's
not
probably
written.
not the right one.
Oh, is that? This 31 Campbell, right?
It is 31 Campbell, but it shouldn't be,
That was in my packet, I just
sorry.
handed it to him, sorry.
We're gonna correct the reading of that, so,
Are you looking for the, are you looking for the?
I'm looking for the correct wording of this, though.
yeah.
Are you looking for the
Right,
southern
Right,
application?
so,
Is that the one
I think I can
sample?
correct this.
Is it, he's looking for this?
It's just not written right.
No, I don't, it's not.
Okay.
Is that one,
This
No,
is the
that's-
one
that's in my packet.
you just put up on the screen the one.
Yeah, apologize for not having the right one here.
I'm just saying that that's gonna go to court.
Yes.
Yeah, that's in the packet.
Too.
Yeah, I mean, I can,
It's lucky to start here
Well, 'cause it
first
says
because this
34
is
feet.
easier.
All my emails are the same
It's
one.
very
too.
large.
that's what I was
For
hoping
a
for.
recreational
Somehow
hoop
something-
house, it's pretty
I probably
big.
got all of them.
I mean, I like hoop houses as
If
much
you
as
look
the
at
next
the
guy, and I
emails
cold
on-
weather garden too up in Maine, like, I feel her, I dig it,
All the Freedom
but
Trail emails, they're
there's
all.
limits on
there's
what you
like
can
14
do
of
to
them,
your neighbors.
But they're all the same.
I don't
I
have
know.
the,
Without them
I don't
suing
have
you.
the
Also,
notice for this
the other
one.
side
I
is
have- I have
it's
the
hard
photo
to
up
try
on
and
the
limit
screen?
your
Yeah.
neighbors too.
I have the full
Like, you-
Yeah, but there's,
you don't wanna
and
be
that's
able
why
to-
it's uncomfortable, because glare is, the glare definition is built around old technology.
Yeah, it's true.
When it's talking about,
It is a slippery slope with the neighbors though, during the day and all that other
We
stuff.
may not want to, we may want to wait for deliberation on that.
I have glare from a commercial parking lot.
Everything earlier, I thought I had everything in the right spot. No, different piles.
shield them too.
It was just written wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
I tried fighting it 9 years ago. Now I know what the, now I know how I could afford it.
What was something you had, just in case,
Call it
you
back.
still have it?
I spent $1,000 on 9 fucking shades. Yes.
What's the section?
Sometimes that or move, you
There's
know?
the one on the board.
Yeah, it's the same thing though.
No, hold on. Path of least resistance sometimes.
It's reading the same way, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Is the file folder in there? Hold on a second, I'll get the, that's not the correct notice.
All right.
We're just waiting for the correct
We got the
notice
wrong address.
of hearing.
Plus, the dimensions are different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's, yeah, got it.
On this notice of hearing?
I guess we have no limitations on building
That has the right dimension
portable
though.
structures in the back of
The
your yard.
agenda says 34.
Yes, that's correct on there.
I
You can
know.
build anything?
Don't give me any ideas.
And the notice says 46.
Think about it.
What is the distance, Matt?
So the 46 is the actual physical distance. I'm going for a variance of 34 because it's that.
Can you grab a microphone? Mr. Awad, can you grab a microphone?
We're just going to wait for the notice of hearing to be read, and then we'll,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we'll just wait, but thank you. Why don't we take, do you want to take a recess? You got it
Yep, here he
ready?
is, he's
Why
got
don't,
it.
why don't we take a 5-minute recess, if that's okay, and then we'll come back and we'll continue on with this.
Hanging. And then maybe drop them down by about 3.
Are we back on
yep.
the TV?
We're back on now, it's 8:45, we're gonna,
I'll first
we
make a
made the
motion.
notice, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion that the hearing opened earlier, we're gonna continue that. So the hearing for applicant Next Grid for the photovoltaic system along the properties on Pond and Sharon Ave, we're gonna continue that to January 19th at 7:15?
I'll second that,
Correct.
okay, and that would be at 7:15?
Yes.
There's a second, any discussion, all those in favor? Say aye.
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 Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. All right, now, we're gonna move on to 31 Campbell Street.
Yes, I'm ready. All right, so notice hereby given in accordance with Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws and all amendments thereto that the public hearing is scheduled to be held by the Norfolk Zoning Board of Appeals on December 15, 2021 at 7:45 PM at room 124 at Norfolk Town Hall, 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass. Matt Alward has requested a variance to allow a previously constructed shed with a 34-foot setback instead of a required 50-foot setback in accordance with Section 10 of Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws as amended in Section E1B of Norfolk zoning bylaws. The property is located at 31 Campbell Street, Assessors Map 22, Lot 76, Lot 4, and is in the R2 zoning district.
Thank you. Welcome, please identify yourself.
Good evening, Matt Awad. I'm the owner of 31 Campbell Street.
Go right ahead, Matt, whenever you're ready.
So I wrote a letter. I'm not sure if has everybody seen the letter that I wrote? I mean, I'll just go over everything too.
Please.
Yeah. Sorry, it was a long letter. I just kind of
We have your whole
wanted to get
application.
all the details out to it. Essentially, just to summarize the letter and what I'm here for is I poured a foundation for a shed. There was no permit required. It was a 16 by 12 shed under the square footage required for a permit in the town or basically in the state. And that was done 2 years ago. It was left like that. It wasn't in any area that's not disturbed. So, I mean, I've done work there before, and basically I put a septic tank in, so it's within the disturbed area already. Started building the shed, got the violation from the zoning about the 50-foot setback from the front yard. First thing is I considered where the shed is as the side yard, but I'm not really gonna argue that. I mean, that's just, it's debatable. But really the 50-foot setback, I didn't see it until later on, and after I got the violation, I noticed it was in a table, and because there was nothing really with the front yard description as far as 50 foot. Typically, I mean, I have a CSL, so I've done like work in other towns, and 50 foot's, I've never heard of 50 foot. Typically it's 10, 20 from other towns, but 50 foot, I mean, it's in the bylaw. I'm not arguing that at all. So I'm looking for a variance to keep it where it is. The other issue that I have is that I personally picked this before knowing about the setback. I picked a location because it's really the only spot that I could put it. My lot is a triangle. The Stop River is to the left of me. The wetlands come in from the left side. The backyard, really outside the deck and the backyard. After that, it's all within the 200-foot zone. At the same time, I wanted to step the shed back away from the road as much as possible. So where I am, I can't go back because I'm going to get closer to the property line with the neighbors. I can't go forward because I encroach the leach field. I can't go to the right because I get more into the buffer zone of the wetlands, and I can't go any more left just because that's the road. But I placed it as far as I can back. Now, I do have a couple dimensions I pointed out. So from the physical road, it's 46 feet to the edge of the shed right now.
So it's 46 feet from pavement.
Pavement. So from the Cape Cod berm of the road, it's 46 feet away. Now, I know there's a town easement line that carries into, into essentially the grass area. And honestly, it comes to, it's not 34, it's roughly 37. But I'm going for a variance for 34 because I just want to go above beyond. I just want to be safe where I am. So, I mean, I'm just telling you this because it's not as close to the road as you think it is. I didn't bring any pictures. I have some pictures on the phone, but I thought there'd be photos from the building inspector, but I guess there isn't, of where it is compared to the road. Same time, it's not interfering with the neighbors at all. They can't see it unless it's like right around now where you can see through the trees. It's not interfering with the road. It's not like in the way of driver's sight or anything like that. So like I said, I did in the letter I wrote it, I put it where I wanted to like put it, so it was kind of in the perfect spot, and there's really nowhere else that I can put it. It is built, it's sheathed. Essentially, that's when I got shut down. I respected the stop work order and I stopped, put a tarp over it, just to protect the wood.
You wouldn't have a picture of the shed?
I do have it on my phone, so I don't mind showing you the phone.
Matt, I drive by your property pretty regularly. Can you just tell tell the board,
Could you like
So-
point where the shed is on that?
Yeah, the shed essentially, the back of the shed would be right, well not, it's right over here.
and
kind of
you got
messy.
you got a slope in the back of your property?
Yeah, back over here?
Yes.
Yeah, it slopes up after the yard, down to the wetlands essentially.
Yeah.
Your leach field over here,
No, the leach field,
You could show it on the screen?
behind the house.
You want to point on the screen up there?
oh yeah, well, she has the house on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So, you can kind of see the house right there. The leach field essentially comes down and it stops right here. So the tank's right here and it leaches down. So, you know how you drive, like, I guess, I don't know which way you're coming from, Walpole into Norfolk? So the leach goes down into the field right here. It's gravity pumped, gravity,
That's what's
set.
on the other side,
Yeah.
your triangle. The other-
Here?
To
No,
the-
no, the other side of your property right there.
Yeah,
Oh,
what's
here, that's all wetlands.
Is it-
Your,
does it
your
slopes
house is
down?
long, right? So there's a
Yeah,
garage on that
it's
end.
long, so the garage is right here.
Right.
There's a driveway here, there's another, like a service driveway right here. And then after that, this is all kind of high up on the road, and it all drops. It's all skunk cabbage, it's all wet.
How far off of the road is your house?
It's actually closer than the shed.
That's what I was gonna
It's-
ask, yeah.
It's
It's
an
true.
old
Yeah.
historical
It's right
home.
It's
there,
like
yeah.
my house, it's
Yeah.
right on the road.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's close to 25. 20,
From pavement?
from the, yeah, I use
Yeah.
pavement,
Pretty
yeah.
much.
Yeah.
You can barely fit your truck in the driveway.
Yeah,
And the
truck,
truck's 20 feet long.
I know, it
so-
sticks out, exactly, you know.
Great picture of it on Google Maps,
Homing
actually.
pass.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, you see the house.
Homing pass.
It's
Yeah,
a
so
great
you-
color, though, I
Thank
must
you.
say. You're welcome.
Oh, yeah, right here. So yeah, you can see where the truck is. That literally just sticks right to the road. So you got your tank right here, and it leaches out into this area. There's the covers, and then so the shed is right. It's kind of right. It's right here. It's not in plain view. It's kind of tucked in behind a wooded area,
If you,
just to kind of keep it private, not obtrusive, and like.
if she puts the
And that-
hand
sorry,
on
go
it.
So your request for the
Go the
variance,
other way.
Matt, is from a technical
street
standpoint,
foot.
is really for three reasons, as far as
No, just put
you
your hand
have soil
on the
conditions that are
grass.
wet in back.
Yep.
You have
In the
topography with the
grass.
slope in the back,
There
and you
go.
have
There you go.
the shape, the
That's
lot
where the-
shape
that's-
is irregular.
It's irregular, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Just
See,
so I
that's where
can't.
his shed would be down in that.
Yeah, it's right. Actually, it's right in here.
Yep.
And it's not a question of if it's encroaching on a neighbor's lot line.
No,
It's just
so-
a matter of the setback from the line, your property.
Yeah, so it's a setback from
The street.
this corner to right where this car is. So you can see the
Gotcha.
street right
Is
there.
it within a Concom jurisdiction?
What's
Your-
that?
Is it within conservation
Yeah.
jurisdiction?
So, I mean, I've talked to Janet with conservation, and I showed her exactly where it was. It's front of, we use the hail bales as the disturbed area, not disturbed. It's within, the back of the shed is on the hail bale line. So it encroaches into the disturbed area from the original build-out, essentially.
It looks like your wetlands are more on this side than the other side.
It's pretty much around his house.
Yeah,
But-
it's
yeah, so
kinda-
you got a
it goes
lovely,
around.
you got a nice, lovely hunk on
Yeah, so
there.
like that, I don't know, that should all be green right there.
Yeah, I was just looking at it because I was imagining where the buffer might be too, and just couldn't figure out where you could possibly, where we.
Yeah,
where it would
so,
work.
I mean, the other thing too is like it's tight, so
Yeah.
it's kind of grandfathered in,
So you've
especially
got
the
an
wetlands.
odd-shaped lot and undesirable soil conditions,
Yep,
and they're unique to
and,
your
and,
lot?
and the,
that's it.
and the topography, the slope.
Just drops, yeah, it drops down. So I
And
couldn't,
that's- And that's unique to your lot?
Oh, that's an old picture. Where'd you get that one?
Quite a difference. That's a good picture there.
Yeah,
That's
See
a
what you've
picture.
done.
yeah, I know.
if you go too far past it, it changes to the old picture.
Old
and then
picture,
as you
yeah.
go
Oh,
back
is
to
that
the
what
left,
happens?
It switches
Okay.
to the orange picture. It's
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
Google,
the same house?
Yes,
This is
yeah,
a large
house.
work, my
Google
friend.
Maps.
right there working
Great
for a long
restoration.
time.
Thank you very much.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is nice.
Any other questions from the board?
Nope.
Is it gonna be painted out?
Any other questions from the board?
I mean, he's totally done a great job on the house.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Amazing.
I appreciate.
I drive by there every day. It's phenomenal. So,
Thank you.
Well
You
done.
have a, is that a plaque on the side, a marker plaque? for the
Yeah.
area? Where did you get yours?
From Betsy, I think her name's Betsy, historical Norfolk's.
We want one too, I was just wondering.
Yeah, she got me.
Is there
I always
anybody
get
in the
afraid to
audience that
put
would
those
like
on
to?
there. I don't know what they're gonna tell me I can't do, I can't do, so.
Oh, do you have to put a, do you have to put a
house is
Oh, yeah,
preservation?
mine's 250 years old.
You're the
Go
17
right
on
ahead,
this,
sir.
right?
Yeah,
Mine is-
1774.
Just identify yourself.
Mine's 1726.
I'm Donay. I'm actually Matt's neighbor, and I'm on the Lincoln Road, so the first house past him.
Yeah.
And we talk all the time, and I see what he does and where he put it, and it's not an eyesore. It goes along with the house. He's done a great job, and I think,
I don't know, it glows blue right about now.
Is that a glow or a glare?
Thank you. Is there anybody?
No big house.
Is there anybody on Zoom
Yes.
Well,
that would
yeah,
like
there
to
are, but-
that'd like to be heard?
One of my neighbors who I butt.
Yep.
We might have somebody on Zoom.
Bonnie?
There's a hand up.
Hi, yeah, this is Bonnie McLaughlin. I'm at 23 Campbell. I'm another neighbor of Matt's.
Okay.
Just wanted to show our support too. We look directly sort of at the back of him across the river, and Matt, you know, he's been a great neighbor. We have no problems with where this is located, and hopefully this will get approved. We look forward to seeing it completed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bonnie.
Anybody else on Zoom?
No other raised
there
hands.
are, but nobody raising their hand.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
No, got a lot of data.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
All right, 1 second.
Second it?
Oh, I gotta make the motion.
Oh,
Okay.
go ahead, make a
All right, I
motion.
make a motion to close the hearing for Matt Atwood. Requested variance for 31 Campbell Street, the previously constructed shed with a 46-foot, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one, 34-foot setback.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a nice night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, like I said, the lawyer, we don't have to wait a half hour.
Yeah,
Less than that.
I ride past
Yeah,
it
if you-
all the time.
Few minutes.
Depends how much he bills us.
Well, since we do have town council here, do we want to go right into, I don't know if we have any updates, or if we want to just go right into deliberations and,
No, I'll go into the
River
deliberation.
next, right?
Yeah, I know.
okay.
Oh, it's a great area.
That's one of my.
So we have no
favorite
minutes?
curves, and then go-
Oh, you do have minutes?
Okay, all right, so we'll just go right into deliberations then.
Yeah, and then come back to the minutes, just
All right, so,
for,
so let's,
Thank you, guys.
have a nice night. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm trying to, Freedom Trail.
You need more information?
I'm just trying to,
Find it again? What
Howdy.
happens when you have too many things on the agenda?
yeah. I'm just trying to,
Well, I have,
do you have it there?
well, I have some things here. I have some of this information. I think that's Freedom Trail, right?
All right. So we have a notice of violation by the building department. We've had the
I have a bunch of
appellant
them.
here tonight, had the neighbors, you've seen some, you've heard some testimony,
There's 12 of them. There's some of them we don't
you've
know.
had some
These are the-
photos.
I have a neighbor's letter here, and it looks like it's the same neighbor's letter printed like 20 times.
Yeah, I
the
went
same
through-
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty similar.
Yeah, I went through and I found about 12 letters, unique 12 letters. 3 or 5, maybe as many as 5 were in the same general neighborhood. There were others just supporters throughout the town, from what I saw in the letters.
The, I drove by there, I forget which day it was now, I could check the date, but it was early evening, and I guess based on the definitions that I've read, I would consider it to be a glare. And that was my, I think it was, I didn't go to the back of the yard, I really didn't have to at that point, I was surprised by what I saw just from the front of the properties. And I think those photos, from what I saw, were representative of what's out there, and I didn't hear anything to suggest otherwise from the photos, so I think there was speculation that council, Pound's council couldn't vouch for them, but the homeowner didn't say anything adversarial about them, so I think it's well supported, in my view, that there's a glare issue there. So I'd like to hear from the other members.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
having the same feeling
Yeah.
or assumption or interpretation for what I saw.
I don't know if anybody else has driven by there.
No.
I drove by it, but it must have been off, because they must have changed the times. I went by about 6:30, thinking it was gonna be on until 7, because that's what it said, and it was not on, so.
I would probably want to know if this neighbor that was here today is across the street, is it adjacent, behind them?
I think it's right next door.
Right, the one that was talking
Right,
about the
right next
daughter's
door.
room, they're right
That
next
was the
door.
only physical neighbor that was?
No, we had the guy that was 2 doors over too.
There was another two, okay.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty compelling when I saw, like, some of the pictures at least that she's submitted, that you can see it across her house, on her window, even just in the backyard, the yard is glowing.
Can I ask a clarifying question? We're trying as this to define what these bylaws say is a glare. Is that our objective?
I think what we're, and council can help us, I think what we're trying to do here is we have a building inspector, zoning enforcement officer determination, and I think we're trying to, and they've appealed that determination or decision. So we're trying to determine, either overturn that decision or support that decision.
Got it.
And if you want to take it to the natural point of what's the definition of glare,
Like, that's kind of what it boils down to.
I believe you're on point there.
It's not like how to help people be good neighbors. It's,
No,
No.
no.
We need to determine whether it's a glare or
Right.
glow, as he said.
Yeah.
The substantive part is the glare.
We know that something out there, and
Right.
it's, pink and obtrusive,
right.
but
And I think once you get to obtrusive, I think you're at the definition of glare.
yeah, I do too.
And I think the literal passage where it says no direct or sky reflected glare shall be permitted, whether from floodlights or from high temperature processes such as combustion or from signs or otherwise permitted. They're talking about sodium incandescent bulbs, which we don't use anymore, but that's what they're going for, which is a general outdoor light. And so part of this is just an elderly regulation, but there's the room that the board has to interpret what the word glare means and whether or not an objectionable glare is occurring in accordance with this regulation. And if we do make that determination, then we uphold what the building commissioner has done, and if we don't, we reverse it. And if we do make that determination, then it's incumbent upon the homeowners to find a solution that is satisfactory to the building commissioner that the glare is no longer occurring and that the violation is no longer occurring. The reason why he's debating, like, when they got served is because it's $300 a day, so it's very important when the process began. But dollars to donuts, this town probably isn't going to try to recoup the fines because it's really expensive to go to court for a couple $1,000s. That's the whole thing, start to finish.
Right.
Really, they just need to fix it.
And is it case by case, right? So we're not trying to correct or amend the
No,
definition of
no,
a glare.
no.
Because
That's the
We're
bylaw
here
we're
to
living with.
Because that's what,
Interpret it.
like, it's an important question, I think, too, because, like, you're essentially opening the floodgates, right, for, like, the Christmas light argument, or the deck hanging string lights, and like, that's what I'm saying, it can get slippery at a certain point, but if it's a this instance sort of thing.
But we
then
don't
that's-
mess with Christmas lights because they're religious expression and that's free speech, and so we just avoid that altogether.
That's good.
Not in Sharon,
That's
they
good.
will, but yes.
But there are arguments between neighbors sometimes because it's just.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying,
Too many lights,
it seems
you know?
like it should
But our-
have stayed
but our
neighborly,
focus-
but.
But our
on
focus is
this.
narrow to this
Narrow.
particular
Gotcha.
decision.
Griswolds do not live next door to me, so.
Gotcha.
We have some-
So I think
some
if
of
we
them.
had,
Yeah, I know.
maybe council can help us with this, because this may get looked at, I suspect.
I don't think we're gonna satisfy anybody with this decision. Her saying that I like it, like, I don't mind it, but I don't wanna see it at all. I mean, you say if the lights weren't there, maybe she still wouldn't wanna see it.
But we're not-
have to make that.
But we're not making a
we're not
decision.
making
We're
that
not
decision.
conditioning it.
We're not conditioning, we're just either supporting
We're-
the decision
we're
of the building
supporting the
inspector
building
or we're
inspector.
reversing it, one or the other.
I think the
There's no-
building inspector is right, 100.
So,
And
That's my opinion.
And hopefully us, upholding the decision.
so do we have
They'll
do we have,
work it.
I'm sorry. do
I'm
we-
sorry.
I was gonna say, so do we have a motion to support the building inspector's decision?
Yes, I make a motion that we uphold the building inspector's decision.
In terms of the vote, just the 5 members that, not the associates.
Correct, just
Yeah.
5 sitting members. I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's a roll call vote, right?
Yeah, I would do roll call.
Okay.
Just the,
So she has to call the 5 names out, if she can. You have to call the 5
You wanted
member
to
name.
call
You have to read our names.
Yeah.
David Axberg,
Aye.
Joe Sebastiano,
Aye.
Tim Martin,
Tim Martin, aye.
Josephine,
Aye.
Good job.
sorry, Tyler.
No,
Tulip?
Tyler doesn't get to.
No,
Christopher.
no, that's Christopher.
Chris,
Oh, I'm sorry, Christopher Metcalf.
Aye.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Now you get to notify him.
Great decision.
write it up. Just- yep.
There is only one.
And hopefully they'll work out some sort of a compromise.
They'll work it out.
Yeah, I'm sure they will.
$300 a day is a very compelling reason to hang up foil and
You keep
cardboard.
Yes.
I've seen those. The only time I've ever seen the pink lights
I think that just means
is
that
in
the zoning
the
board
grow
agreed
house
with
for
the planning
marijuana.
board.
And so as soon as I saw that, I'm like, what in the world are they
It
growing?
looked like more than 6 plants, right?
Yeah, I'm sitting there going, I think there's more of a violation than something else going on here.
Goes back out, and
I think there's more than 6 plants per person.
We'll leave that one to the DEA. That's a caregiver's license.
I don't know.
The agenda, we have,
So we have some updates, we have minutes.
Okay,
And 2 decisions.
okay, great.
Well, that's what I told him to do.
So I'll have you jump back up.
So we'll go back to the town planner updates.
Yeah, sure, why not? We'll do it quick. In terms of the wastewater update, I got a meeting tomorrow, Woodward and Kern. I met with the Conservation Commission last week, asking them to allow for a license to be granted for the town to do some preliminary testing on the conservation property for the potential leach field for the wastewater treatment plant. If it turns out that it is viable, it will require a swap of land because it's conservation, so it'll have to come out conservation designation, and the ratio is 3 to 1. By having doing the testing, it may not, depends on the site conditions, it may not be a large area, it could be good material, so it's to a confined area. We are gonna be looking at, we'll probably go back and revisit some of the land where the ball fields are behind Freeman Kennedy, because there's a section that the Conservation Commission did allow the Park and Rec to put a soccer field on the conservation land, being recreation, and then they will retain care and custody, which is fine. But in terms of going the next level with the wastewater leach field, that's a conversion, so that's beyond the scope of, conservation land. But if the soccer field gets built, then the idea that there's a portion of that could be a leach field, and then once the leach field's done, plant it, reseed it, return it back to a play field. So that's why we're gonna look at that area as well, so they did grant that, so the next step, like I said, is we meet with the engineers tomorrow. We did get $100,000 that a lot of towns put in money for the state through the ARPA funding, so we do have that towards it. And then additionally, there is ARPA money that the town has too, if it proceeds and it continues forward. So that's kind of the quick
Okay.
update. Southwood Hospital, we did get the Planning for Growth grant through Executive Office of Environmental Affairs. So we will be looking at potentially the 40R, friendly for to be a 40R, but some variation, which way, in terms of dealing with the multifamily housing for that site. So
40R would be great.
Yeah.
Get the school kid cost reimbursement. They pay you for them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the preferred track, so, but, they'll need to, of course, GFI is gonna have to participate in that, so, but, we did get the grant, and we'll start working on that in January. So I'll keep you posted, but
Great.
they'll kick off, so.
Good.
In terms of construction, I think we're pretty set. I don't think there's much that happened between last month and this month in terms of recall. So, and then quick, I'll jump to Seccong Street, then we'll go back to deliberation. So that subdivision got denied in Walpole, so.
Okay.
Yes, I saw it, yeah, I was,
So,
yeah.
that's the end note to that one, so.
But I don't know if it's the end of us, it's the end of Walpole, what do you think?
Well, it's the end of,
Them for.
They have to come back
They
with
gotta
a
come
whole
back,
new
so-
something or other, because it was a gravel pit. When I actually listened to some of the meeting minute things that they were talking about, it was like, they're just cutting gravel out of there. I mean, but
yeah, so the moment is denied, so we'll see, but anyway, so we'll get to,
But they were taking gravel out. I was surprised they were coming down through Norfolk. And why don't just go to LaRusso right there in Walpole? But
yeah, so the,
I mean,
and I don't know if, maybe I didn't say it the last, so we did, so their town council had opined that, you know, that you can't direct
The traffic.
truck
route.
traffic
Right.
through the permitting process, so. I know that looked favorably from the Walpole folks, but you can't be doing that in a permit. So they were advised they weren't gonna be able to do that, so, but they didn't even get to that point because they just
They
denied
didn't
it.
just independently post truck routes and call it a day?
What's that?
They didn't just independently post truck routes and act like it wasn't because of it?
Yeah.
No,
well,
they didn't get that far.
No,
They didn't get that
no,
far.
we didn't get that far. So anyway, that's the summation on that one, so. Now we'll go to deliberations, if you will.
All right, what do we have in front of us,
So you have
Rich?
two of them, so 84 Seccong Street, which was a small-scale ground-mounted photovoltaic system, and then DPW, the salt shed. So I sent them out ahead of time. Hopefully they were in order. So, so I do have them, if you want to vote to.
Rich, how did they pick up on the issue
Can I just see them?
with the DPW site with the, who picked that up?
It should be in
Was
your
that-
packet, too. What's that?
Who
Something's in
picked
the
up
packet,
the
though.
issue with the
not in
DPW
the
site?
It's on the packet.
There was some issue with the asphalt or something they were putting in, or some? Is
So
that what
in the
changed it?
minutes, yeah, in the minutes last time, you were gonna give us an update of Boyd's Crossing and how the asphalt
No,
came up.
this was on the DPW, the salt.
Oh, the salt
shed.
one?
On DPW.
Oh, I
This
don't
is-
know.
I don't recall what that,
That's what I think someone in the building,
No, that was the concrete app earlier when they said they weren't sure altogether what the paving surface was that they were gonna use. That
they
was,
had to check out the paving service?
yeah, that was
That's
the
what-
guy earlier today. though.
That wasn't our responsibility.
That's not
to
our
check.
salt shed.
no,
That's
no.
why I
Oh,
thought,
okay.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Make that motion,
I
right?
thought
So-
we missed something, that's
No,
all.
no,
All right.
different guy, different
I
day.
didn't want to miss something.
No, you totally heard that today, though. You're not making it up.
We'll need,
So you guys could
I
decide.
forget who was here who could vote on this one.
So-
We're going, this is the DPW one.
That's
sign-
DPW.
we gotta
It
sign that one,
was Tyler.
So we're gonna, we'll probably entertain a motion for a vote for the special permit for the DPW.
Okay.
Salt shed, so,
Yeah, I wasn't here
you
for
can
these.
participate in this one.
Great.
So you were part of the five for that one.
Yeah, you
Courtney,
can sign
uh,
that one.
She deferred to you. I don't think she drew short straw, right? You deferred.
No, I'm all for Tyler making all the votes.
So if you've seen the decision, if you're comfortable with it,
Yep, yep.
if you want someone to make a motion
Make a
to.
motion? David, do you wanna make a motion before you sign away?
Ah, I already signed my first name.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept, or to actually approve, special permit to 273 Dedham Street, Norfolk, Mass, for the salt shed. Is that not what this
Salt
is?
shed is Midway Branch.
Well, that's, I'll have to make an edit to that. It should be,
Yep,
33 Medway Branch.
yep.
Mine says Midway Branch.
Yeah, what's that?
It's right here, it's case.
This will be the other one when you're ready. First, let's square away that one.
Did you print,
Yeah, it did. The last
Good thing I
page
read it.
Yeah.
should be the last page.
Yeah, that'll get
Like a
tricky.
line edit there.
That's right.
What's the issue?
So the case number is wrong. This,
Oh, on the
this
decision?
address on the decision.
Yeah, so.
That won't affect your motion.
No, we'll just edit the,
Yep.
yeah.
So if you want to make the motion,
Make a motion to amend it to amend the decision to correct it.
Correct.
I'll probably catch something like that. The case number.
All right, so what motion am I making?
so you want to make a motion to approve, I think you were making a motion to
Approve.
approve the special permit and to amend the
Special permit,
decision
yep.
with the proper case number.
With an amendment to the address to 33 Medway Branch.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause it's 273.
I'd like to make a motion to accept and grant the special permit for 33 Medway Branch to allow for a new salt shed to be replaced the existing salt shed that was damaged from a severe storm located in the R1 district.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Now you can sign it.
I think you have one more there.
Yeah, they could sign the page and all.
We did deliver it.
No, one more, then 84.
I'm just curious if you had the vote last time.
That's the PV.
You had the vote last time.
But you still deliberated,
That's the PV.
right? Okay. I'm just curious, you deliberated it, but they didn't vote on it last month?
If you want to change the motion, say deliberate, approve, and make it all one motion, you can if you want to correct it, so.
Oh, okay, I'm just asking, that's all, meaning,
No, it didn't deliberate.
But we have a motion.
I guess,
Can I amend my motion?
you can retract the motion, I suppose.
I'm gonna retract my motion. Due to a motion.
It's a good question. I don't know, do you have a thought
Well, it
on,
was
in
voted.
terms of, do you actually have to say deliberate?
I think it was voted.
no, you don't have to say deliberate, I don't believe in the motion.
No, it passed.
No, no.
It's passed.
Yeah.
You're not required to even deliberate.
No, it passed.
Yeah.
The motion passed.
Right.
Right.
Motion passed.
I was just curious if.
I
they-
signed
you had
it. I made a
voted on it
mess out
last-
of my
last
signature,
meeting,
but
that's
don't
all.
worry about it.
No,
Do you
no,
wanna
it
go
wasn't
on to the
voted.
next
This
one?
is the vote tonight.
All right, so the vote's tonight, so you, the same thing here, you're gonna vote on this the
Yeah,
same
you
way.
can,
Sure.
Because that's where they always are.
I'd like to make a motion
Originate.
to,
location.
um,
That's with-
grant special permit,
On my bike route.
subject to conditions specified within this motion for 84 Seekonk Street to allow for a small-scale ground-mounted solar voltaic system in the R2 zoning district. Based on the evidence, November 17th.
I'll second that motion. Any discussion?
Any discussion?
I think you do have another typo on it. I don't know if it's important to bring that up now or not. I just,
I'll clean it up.
okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, you're right. I see that. We'll clean it up.
And Rich, who's voting on this one? Who can vote on this one?
I think the
Been there before.
same that were there, because it was all the
Yeah,
same
it's the
night.
same.
Same
I don't
meeting.
know.
Right.
It is the same group. Did you,
Nope.
you deferred
No.
on it?
Yep.
So it's
nope.
Tyler again.
Okay.
I was Tyler all night. It makes
Tyler
it
all night. Okay.
makes it so much easier. It's always going to be Tyler.
No, it's not always gonna be Tyler.
Not always.
Not always.
Sorry. Tyler
You
might not
guys
be
are
there.
missing the
You don't get
beauty.
off that easy.
You guys are missing the beauty of the associate seat.
We're gonna get
not show
Courtney's
up,
name
Courtney.
on
Oh,
Don't put it past me.
well, all right, I guess. Here, let me
because
borrow
it's in
that
the
pen,
footer.
please.
So I think that's it for the evening, correct?
So I'll have you come in and sign it, because it's in the footer, so I can't.
There's a set of minutes.
Do the minutes also.
Okay, do we have the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
I have a copy of the minutes.
Do you want to make a motion on the minutes?
Again, I wasn't there, so I'll take the motion from somebody else.
Pass that back around.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the, good date,
November 17th.
November 17th, 2021, 7 PM meeting of the zoning board
I'll second that.
without corrections, as far as I could tell. I thought they were good. Did a very good job.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Rich, I get signing these.
Thank you.
Yeah, you
Yes,
have,
sir.
you get
I
to
get to
sign.
sign these, yeah.
You get to sign them even though you weren't
And I
present.
think that's all we have
Because
for
we
this evening.
approved it.
All right, so we have do I get a motion to close the hearing?
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so tonight we had the variance, right? And do we want to deliberate any of that tonight?
Oh.
That's the question. 'Cause that's all-
Oh, for
yeah, we have a-
31 Campbell?
Yeah, because I know like in
31
this case, you
Campbell.
still have to write it up.
Yeah.
Do we have like a,
We can vote it tonight if you made a motion.
I'm just saying, I know there's a little bit of difference in the way we're flowing now, but I just want to know, did we want to have the deliberation go as far as a vote tonight if we want? The write-up can be after the deliberation.
Up to you.
Again, it's up to the chairman.
We're here. Why don't we
Yeah.
do
Yeah,
it?
31, I think
Rich
you'd
needs to-
appreciate it.
Plus,
I-
Rich
Mr.
needs
Tim.
to know, I guess, under the variance criteria.
Yep.
Right, this goes back, okay.
Yeah, I think I think he, you know, I think he met the criteria for,
That's not you.
at least for the criteria from
Well, it's either soil.
soil conditions, topography, and
Or shape.
shop. I think he touched on all three of them, and I
I agree.
and
Got the holy trinity.
yeah, he did.
Sounds religious.
And honestly, it doesn't look bad. I mean, I drive by it every day, right? I mean, I think the letter of the zoning bylaw isn't necessarily needed to be fulfilled in that one. In other words, I don't
In
need.
harmony with the.
Yeah, it's in harmony with the
intent of
way
the
that
bylaw.
the intent of the bylaw and the way the house is set and everything else. I think it's,
And I think it was also important that we had the folks, the neighbors who would see it daily, spoke in
Yes.
favor of it.
yep.
So they must feel it's in harmony with their neighborhood and their property. So that was
I agree.
a lot of support there. There was no negative comments about it. There was no one in opposition to it.
Right.
And a side note, it's somewhat irrelevant, but I think we tackle some of these sheds, and we may get there at some point, and it may go to a special permit at some point in time, because.
Right,
we
for
see
the newer
this-
members, we had, literally, a year ago from this point, we were talking about, we're trying to address that with the accessory buildings, because that front yard is literally, the full length of the frontage, all the way back 50 feet, and you go all over town. It's, I think most,
You go 50 foot off of Seekonk Street and you're in my backyard.
yeah.
I mean,
So-
literally.
There are some places where you're 50 foot off. the
Yeah,
street,
right, pretty
And you
much.
still
Right,
have another
right.
100 feet before you get to the house.
So to apply that 50 feet was, but the thing why we pulled it back, because it got a little bit, it kind of curved, it was veered off where, it was gonna be like special permit. And so if you had a building that was set, and there's some cases, we have them where the house is way off the street.
yeah.
And then there's another barn
Right.
that's
Shed or-
200 feet back, you still would have had to go for a special permit, which seemed to make no sense. So,
Is there a footnote already in the table of dimensional requirements for accessory structures to relieve them on side and rear yard?
there is side and rear, yeah,
So it's really just like one more word in there to give you half
No.
front, half side, half rear.
Yeah, I remember, there was a house on Boardman
Before we get
Street
too
or
far
something
out,
that
put-
put a
I'm gonna make a
barn.
Yeah,
motion.
so go back.
Yeah, I want to
I'm
get
sorry.
back, just to wrap it
No,
up.
it's not,
I'm
no,
gonna
it
make a
doesn't
motion
meet the
to
the
approve
definition of the
variance
structure
for
under
31
building
Campbell
code.
Street.
No, that's why you can do it.
I second it.
Second.
Sure.
Any discussion?
Question?
Yep.
Are you satisfied that we have all the?
I do, yeah.
Oh, okay,
And I'll
good, yeah,
write it
good.
up.
Yeah, so I know that one thing I would have, it's nice to have the applicant, even though he did fill out the application, to be a little clearer on, how he perceived the conditions, right? How he felt it met, and, just make sure we cover our variance criteria. But in this case, I know he has it in his application, I did review it.
Okay.
Okay, good, all right. So, yeah, I'm fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 It's a vote. So, I think Rich is gonna take a stab at drafting that decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take a definite review of it.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
but
so what I'd like to do, and get everyone's opinion, is previously, Joe be drafting all these decisions, it get to be, for anybody, can be a lot of work, right? So I think going forward, we'll primarily lean on Rich to do a lot of the drafting. But I'd like to, on each case, have someone volunteer or appoint somebody who would just work with Rich to review the decision, so when it comes to the board, that liaison or that member can just talk about it. And I think really from a practical standpoint is, Rich will probably draft it, email it to that person, talk about it, so it's not cumbersome on one volunteer, but I think it keeps us all engaged. It levels out the workload a little bit, and it'll help all of us, I think so. If I forget to do that, let's try to keep doing that, so we all can get a little bit of homework, and it's really not cumbersome, but I think it's a more
I think it's
equitable
a
way to
great
handle
job for an associate who always defers.
I actually, Tyler's the one finding the typos. I can't find a typo to save my life. I read every 3 letters of a word.
You did a great job, Ray.
Do you want to be the liaison for this one? This is.
Yeah, I
That's
can read
fine.
it over. I do know how to read. That is one thing I.
Well, you
I
also
am
found the errors, though, while you were signing. This is.
So this one's for
good
31
skill.
Campbell?
This
That-
is for 31 Campbell.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we're also gonna have,
Seems pretty straightforward.
well, 31 Freedom. I don't know if we do findings, we just make a
Freedom
decision.
Trail.
The
The,
iron-
we-
oh, the zoning violation? We have
We
both the
already
building
done-
commissioner.
We already-
That's
we already
basically all
voted
there
on
is.
that.
Yeah, there's no,
Yeah, there's no.
We don't have to do anything else on that, I don't think.
so, okay.
There's
We're
no-
just,
You don't have to
we're,
break that up, do you?
we're just,
But basically, it's a finding of a decision. You issue a notice of decision.
Yeah.
then
Let's
the
take a look. I
decision
haven't
is-
done one yet, to be honest, so.
Yeah, it looks like, I think this is a one-liner decision that
Yeah.
we voted to
It's just a
uphold.
noted, officially, the board voted.
See, town council left too soon.
I guess so.
We had a question.
Oh, the last tomorrow?
Yeah, there you go.
there you go, another one to ask.
All right.
So just from the clerk who's written up a lot of these things before, the formats of like these, whether they're special permits or whether they're variances, we kind of have a flow of how they're written. And I guess we'll all become more familiar with how that looks as they get drafted and we get to review them. But I encourage everybody, if we get a chance, will we still get a copy before the next meeting type of thing when it's written up?
Yeah, so
your
what I'll,
liaison has actually looked it over once, whatever.
so I'll do like I did with these other ones. I'll send it out to the
Send it
whole
in,
board,
yeah.
Right.
but then the liaison will be,
like assigned to it.
Responsible for
Yeah.
I
the
don't-
fine tuning.
When y'all say liaison, you all keep looking at me, and you should be looking down the table here. So
well, it's gonna be around the table, right?
Of course.
It's gonna be
And I think
everybody.
it'll help us all when we have these, hearings and on directing our questions, what we're really looking for.
Right.
What's really on point.
Right. So if anything's noticed, I guess if you put it out to the whole board, I'm responding to you, right?
Yeah, and
Right.
like I said, I'm putting it out to you, blind copy, so you can respond back to me, so we don't have any,
Yeah, right, we're not conceding, we're not
Yeah, yeah.
having a
We're not going to
meeting.
deliberate.
Right.
not gonna deliberate.
Right,
So
right,
you can
right.
write back to me,
Okay,
but
very good.
nobody else is
Right.
gonna see it.
So generally, when we have the liaison, whoever it is for that particular one, kind of just, before we all sign it, just, present it to us as a.
The highlights, yeah.
As a finished
Yeah.
copy.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great, because I think we'll all learn a lot from it, because I think there's a lot of things that takes time to learn when it comes to how we actually document all the decisions and stuff.
Sure.
So, if I can help in any way, let me know.
Okay.
Richard, that goes back to something I asked right at the beginning this evening. One of the comments, I think in one of the letters, was to support what you were doing, was using the master plan. Is the master plan on the shared drive, the Google Drive, or is it too huge?
It's actually,
Probably all
And
over
do we
the
use
town
it very
website.
often that way, or to support an argument, or?
so, it's nice to do that. In Massachusetts, it's kind of an odd duck, because everywhere else in the country, I wouldn't say everywhere else, but as much as I know, it's a good document, but there's no connection between your bylaws and master plans. It's good practice to
So
do that.
like in Vermont, when I used to work there and I'd review an application, I'd have to review it for conformance with the town's master plan because that's what state law requires. Massachusetts master plans are just for decoration and they don't do anything other than be a master plan. There's no regulatory teeth with it. Sometimes it makes you more eligible for grant funding, but mostly it's 2 years of everybody hating each other and then we get a nice document.
And a lot of money spent.
Well,
Yeah,
the reason
they're
I brought
expensive.
the reason I brought that up was the question of the PV and locations of PV cells and PV everywhere.
Yeah, that certainly wasn't
You
tackled
know,
in the '07 plan.
It's
no.
completely, it's completely going to come at us with this next discussion.
Well, I do remember one of the updates of the master plan. Wasn't there an update since 2007? There was some amendments, right?
No.
So maybe it was
There's
2007.
There's nothing in the
Yeah.
master plan that says, about conservation of land versus,
No, right.
and trading it against
No,
blacktop
but
and.
you'd see it in the,
PV cells
you'd
and
see it in the
windmills and-
open space plan where they're starting to address climate and resiliency more, and you'd see it in maybe the hazard mitigation plan, but where we flag these in hazard mitigation is because the fire departments can't put out the batteries,
Right.
so they just burn forever.
And
I just,
the only other question, the only other thing we might want to do before that meeting comes up, we might want to talk to the people who run the police station. If they've got sensitive equipment there that may be affected by electrical equipment close by, they might need to comment.
So they're,
You send that out to to
yeah,
all
we
the
send it out to
departments.
them, they have it,
That came through an RFP, didn't it?
yeah, so we actually.
Yeah, so the town, I think, go ahead.
So the piece that's closest to us is actually us, so the town put an RFP out for that particular proposal to do it.
Which is unique, right? So they didn't just come in on their own, they responded to an
Yeah,
RFP.
What I said to Rich, I think the correct location for that is right on the parking lot for the MBTA.
Do we own that parking lot, or does the T? Because you can't do anything with the T.
No, the T,
Oh, yeah.
Well, how did Norwood do it?
Being fancy.
Well, I don't know if it's actually Norwood, it's probably the T, actually, because the T has been
The T's
installing.
been putting them up.
Putting
So I wonder
solar.
whether we can do some trade, I'm just trying to think ahead, saying our master plan should say something about, reduction of blacktop and trade it off against PV cells above it, and maintain the trees over here.
You could do that under probably edit the parking regulations and do an incentive in there to install. I think I'd probably try to wiggle it in there if I were gonna do it.
It's just a thought, anyway.
Well, I guess the global picture in terms of, you could, so right now, it's allowed any district by special permit.
Right, I
So-
know, that's what it says, that's
So-
exactly what
So
it
you-
says.
case by case analysis.
Above 250 kilowatts.
No, I think it's a big picture question, I agree.
well, we
We
have the one
have
that
a
got built
solar
over on
district?
Park Street, right?
So
There was
I
one
don't
on
think we
Park
have a
Street,
solar
the one that
district.
got
No, there's
built that was kinda like with that.
we have a solar district, but it straddles the power lines.
Okay, because you had to do them with green communities, so everybody's got one, you just don't know where it is.
Yeah, ours is,
So the other answer would be to think more about where to put it. And look at a map
I
change.
think it's
My
if-
question was really, that area, we had people tonight talking about putting in some industrial, commercial, concrete area, which is right in that area. You've got the car body shop right in that area. You've got the police station in that area. Why would we put a PV cell in the middle of this? Why wouldn't we be developing more commercial property that brings in a lot more taxes?
They might have the power lines to
taxes are the
transmit the
same.
power for the.
I don't think they do. I
There's
don't
no
think the
upgrade
power's
there.
there, is it?
What's that?
Sometimes
Grid?
it's just a basic infrastructure issue of the capacity of the power lines.
Well,
so
that's why
maybe-
that's
So
why you
the-
were suggesting putting it next to the power line, because you have to get it back into the
The
grid.
transmission.
Yeah,
line,
but you don't necessarily need to be the power lines, I mean, next to
Gotta be
it to
some-
do that.
Might
So
just be that it's industrial.
So that property's been sitting there for a long time, and actually, there hasn't been a
A single suitor?
suitor to develop it commercially. Actually, there was a proposal there, and this guy finally sold it off for the.
So does the town get taxes from a PV
We do,
cell?
yeah.
We do.
So in this case, there's the taxes on the land, but then also the solar as itself, there's a tax on the sale of it. And then in terms of the solar with the town, there's a combination. There's a payment to the town, and there's also,
Okay.
we're negotiating the
Yeah.
terms of right now.
They're revenue generators, and usually they end up in the industrial districts because we don't have huge demand for them. And
Right.
so,
Yeah.
unless it's an industrial park that's super well served by infrastructure, you're not gonna find a tenant.
Are we supposed to deliberate something on 228 Dedham Street?
We'll do that the next one,
At the next one, okay.
so.
Anything else? Do you want to have
Well,
a motion to close the hearing?
Well, there was one other thing that you sent us, which was on the hospital site. Did we talk about that at all?
You gave us an
Spoke
update.
about it
I
briefly.
missed that with the radon two.
Oh, the radium? Yeah, so which I think we kind of surmised was gonna be the case. So DPH will be handling the radium, but through the DEP. So they're working in.
And the present owner's gonna pay for all that removal, huh?
Wow.
They're going into the phase, so they haven't started the phase 2 assessment, but that's gonna be part of it, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow.
Make a motion that we close the hearing.
So moved.
Any discussion?
I second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, have a good night, have a good holiday, everybody.